It's a scorcher out there, and as you've just seen, Bruce Millington scorching back into the studio. RP Live, day 4 of Glorious Goodwood. How's it been, first and foremost?
It's been good. It's been a really good week, and not in any small part down to your phenomenal wisdom. I mean, let's get the adulation straight in there, Dave. That shout yesterday was absolutely genius. I'm surprised to see you, actually. I thought you might do an Alan Brazil, on the TalkSport breakfast, where you go out and celebrate one of the biggest wins of your life, and you can't make it, but you're obviously made of stern stuff.
Well, do you know what? I did go for a couple of sherbets last night, a couple of drinks into the local. There were two schools of how I was greeted. I felt a little bit like Churchill on VE Day with some of the people, like, oh, let me get you a drink. And the landlord said, you're barred. That's it. Why didn't I hear about it? But you know what it's like. You can't tell everyone, can you? And
well, you did tell everyone. You told everyone on the show.
I told everyone on the show. That's right. And I got back to my missus, and do you know what the one thing she said was? I thought she was going to say, how much did you win? No, she didn't at all. She goes, never wear a light shirt again.
Yeah, I must admit, I did notice that.
I was like a jog.
Do you remember the Jordan Henderson advert?
Yes.
Lads were lit, and they all go and they've all got perfect. There was a couple of patches there, but you were entitled to it.
I was entitled to the patches. That's right. Yeah. So the arms do go up a little bit. So listen, we're going to have loads of fun here. There's been some news today throughout the country, isn't there? No race goers, unfortunately, at Goodwood tomorrow. We're just putting our foot on the brakes a little bit. Listen, we're going to be cautious, but we will lift the spirits. Neil Hubbard back for another day from our sponsors Betfair. Welcome back, Neil.
Yeah, good to be here, Dave.
The fun's looking good, isn't it, for racing welfare?
Yeah, you just keep circling back to that winner yesterday.
But
we're well in the credit of the fund. So we had another couple of winners yesterday as well. So we're averaging 2 or 3 a day, I think. So let's hope we can continue it.
And we are, what are we, chaps? We're around about, 12 minutes away from the Oak Tree Stakes, our first race here on RP Live, the 145. We've got a hot pot on this. Let's talk about race times first and foremost, Bruce. They've been a little bit behind at Goodwood this week, haven't they?
Yes, they have, yeah. ITV have been very jumpy about that because they don't want... What was it, the Cesarewitch all those years ago where they went off air with about a furlong to go, you remember?
And, that's right.
So they're desperate to avoid a repeat of that, but I suppose it's partly due to the procedures, isn't it, with the loading, and that's obviously still an issue.
Whereas Stevie Donohoe on yesterday, we were talking to him about what do you think about the stall handlers. He said, we need 4. He said, look, they've done really, really well, but we need 4. Stevie will be quite happy about the fact there's no race goers going back. He said jockeys have been watching in boxes and stuff like that. He said, we've been using all the boxes and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, he's been saying the experience has been a lot better than what they're used to, is what he said. He's having a glimpse of how the other half live, I think
he's definitely got a media career, hasn't he? Really good. I thought it was brilliant yesterday. Very good indeed.
Top stuff. We know you love Stevie as well, but it's the 18 back in the studio. What do we make of the headline today? I loved it. I love this.
It's a great front page.
Don't blink, you might miss him. It's Batash, of course, the 3:15. Every day this week we've been having our feature race, even though it's not a Group 1 day. We've got the Golden Mile as well, haven't we? The draw race of the season.
Yeah.
And Montathar is out, isn't he? Is that what we're saying?
Montathar's out, yeah.
The outside stall, like it's Chester all of a sudden. So tricky one, but we've got loads of tips, loads of selections for you. Don't forget to get your social comments in. We love those social comments. Hashtag RP Live. You can do that below if you're watching on YouTube Live or indeed Facebook, all that sort of thing. Twitter, we love it. Get us out there. How did you get on yesterday? How's your week going? Any big fancies? Is this your pivotal day, or is it all about the Stewards Cup tomorrow? Is Nahar, the Haggis favourite, going to get toppled, or is he simply an absolute good thing? Let us know. We'll give you a shout out. The boys in the gallery have been sterling work all week. They love it when the comments come in. There's a survey as well, I should remind you of. That's cooking along nicely. Feedback here for RP Live, would you believe it? As if we need any. We absolutely do, though, and we love it. You can, of course, if you look on your YouTube, I think it's in the video description, basically. If you comment on that, the winner on Saturday, well, I guess for the best feedback, gets a £50 Amazon gift voucher. There you go. Shall we talk about this first race then, chaps? Bruce, you're all over this, Fav, aren't you, One Master?
Yeah, I mean... Years and years and years ago, I got a job. When I was 18, I worked at Hackney Dog Track in the racing office. I was, I'd plan the racing and the trial sessions and take all the samples and that sort of thing. And there were some tremendous characters down there, old school punters.
Okay.
And one of them said to me, he said, the golden rule of betting, never ignore the obvious.
and which we are potentially looking at the gift horse. Shall we now look at the market and see exactly what price she is? Because Neil Hubbard, this did look like it might go 2-1. We'll get to the reasons as to why that might be.
Yeah, but she's come back in now, so she's 2.76. So in fractional terms, that's around 7-4. Althika next at 7. Breathtaking Look 8.6. Under the Stars 10. But yeah, she has been much shorter than this, so she has been around 6-4.
She's 6-4 with the industry SPs I can see at the moment. So if you want to bet, the exchange is your place to go, basically. So
yeah, she did hit 15-8. Just before we came on air, but she's been nibbled back in a little. Just a little bit.
Now, we know what Bruce is doing. I am going to try and take her on, but I have to say, we've had one race already. We do all the terrestrial TV races for you here on RP Live, but there has been one race that was over mile 4, basically. A 3-year-old handicap. They dawdled early, but they have watered overnight. Goodwood, it's scorching out there, isn't it? Let us know where you're watching this. You're in the garden at the moment, under the shade, or you got the fan on or something like that. But it's not actually quite as quick down in Sussex. It's 4 seconds slow. That suggests they've put the taps on the round course quite a bit, doesn't it?
The pace was really, really sedate early on, though, wasn't
this will
it?
be the one which we should gauge it from then.
Yeah, I mean, if you're opposing one master, then the only 2 reasons you can do so, I think, are 1, you've got serious concerns that the ground will be too lively, and Haggis himself is concerned, although he says that because they're using fresh ground today, that he thinks it will be just about moist enough. And the other one is obviously that it's a 14-runner or 12-runner heat now at Goodwood, and you can find trouble. But beyond that, if she turns up in a form and she's extremely consistent, I just think she's stepping down in grade. I just think she wins.
Yeah, let's go to you then, Neil Hubbard, and so that people can react to what you're doing out there. You are going to take her on.
No. Well, I was going to play a couple in the place market against her, but I think as we've discussed before on this show, everything's about price. So when she was about 6-4 or a little bit shorter, I was quite happy to throw a couple of darts at bigger price runners and see if we could pick up some of the places.
Like what?
But,
like who?
It was going to be Wasmia and the Jessica Harrington, Valera Messalina were going to be the 2
Foreign
against
raiders.
her.
Okay,
yeah, I thought I'd pick the 2 with the hardest pronunciations to go to war with. So it was going to be those 2, but actually she's drifted now, one master, to a price where...
You're happy to go into the battle?
Yeah, I sort of agree with everything Bruce says. She's the best one in here, and now she's the price she is, which is around 7-4, 9-5 sort of territory. I'm quite happy to row in with her in the win market.
Okay, should we get it on?
Yeah, so she's around 2.76, which is 7-4. So the blue boxes on the exchange is how you back something to happen. So 2.76, we'll have £50 win on her there at 2.76. Confirm that. And we are on.
We are on. We are off and running. Not too far from our first race to 1:45. They're still sort of ambling around the paddock so we can see. We've got pictures in the corner here that we'll be bringing you all our reactions. It's all about real-time analysis here. We'll be just progressing as the show goes on. We've literally got no idea what is going to happen, but we do want to lift your spirits. Lift ours as well by getting those social comments in. Your comments and questions for Bruce and Neil, myself. We'll do our best to answer and give you the shout out as well. I think it's been a really good week for punters so far. This is potentially a pivotal horse. Certainly your pivotal horse of the day.
Probably, yeah. I mean, she's involved in a lot of ACCAs, so, hopefully she'll get me off to a good start. I've got to say with today that it's probably not the card that really kind of whets my appetite the most.
I'm going to get it wetted because let's talk about the 3:15. You are taking on Batash.
Yeah, I am, and it's again on the value argument. He's obviously the likely winner, but there's a horse that's drifted absolutely monumentally in Glass Slippers. I can't believe her price. Let's just check what the latest is.
23.
23? That is impossible.
Yeah.
That is truly impossible.
When does that become worrying? Houston, we have a problem.
Oh, no,
drift.
It doesn't bother me.
Not at all.
never worry about drifts. Hang on. There's the odd stable I worry about a drift. But to be honest, generally speaking, punters are too wary of drifts. The bigger the drift, the more you win.
What about just on the exchange, there's a market here which is without Batash. So Glass Slippers is in there at 4.7.
Well, that's probably crazier.
At 7-2.
That's actually probably crazier.
That brings me to my point. Do you worry when a horse goes out to even money to, let's say, 13-8 region of more than you do something going from 20s out to 40, 50s, a bit
well,
like
in percentage terms,
yesterday.
Like in percentage terms, then yeah, that's more significant when something drifts from evens to like 5-4, 11-8 than a 20s out to 25s or whatever. But I'm sort of with Bruce. It doesn't overly bother me too much, to be honest. if something's drifting
The
that much.
whole betting industry, the mathematics of betting wouldn't work if every horse that drifted lost and every horse that was well back won. And yet punters are absolutely mad for market movers.
Obsessed.
It's honestly, we measure traffic on Racing Post products, and anything to do with market movers, the appetite for it is enormous. I guess it's a psychological safety and numbers thing. I don't know, but you know,
That's a good shout.
you really do need to think about whether or not a drift is because there's a genuine problem. Look, there'll be stuff like a horse wandering around the paddock with the old fifth leg, or getting into a horrible lather, or misbehaving on the way to the start. But generally speaking, it's just less well back than the other horses. And
Yeah, I think a lot of it is as well in racing. There's obviously so much unknown to racing that the likes of you and I don't know just from the numbers that we're looking at and the form we're looking at in the paper. And the whole thing of racing is the romance around landing a gamble and all of this sort of stuff. And so when you see a horse go from 10s to 6s or something, it's that fear of missing out. You want to be part of that story.
FOMO again.
Yeah.
We're
You
here
want
we
to be
go,
part of
FOMO.
that story, don't
You don't want to be a lemming though, Neil, either. There's no
No.
drift on one master. That's Bruce's big selection here in this race. Neil Hubbard, he's deserted, he's taking her on. It's all about price. I put up Under the Stars. That's what I'm going for here. She was behind one master in the Falmouth, messy Falmouth. Go back to her Haydock run before that. She's quite comfortably, I thought, of the line saw Alpha Althika, who somehow is ahead of her in the market. That's because Althika has actually come out in France and won a listed race. If anything, that increases my confidence about Under the Stars confirming that Haydock form. Why? Because she's a little bit fresh. It was just too bad to be true, I think, even though that was a Group 1 for Under the Stars. She's not the most consistent, but on her day, she's more than capable of this. It looks like both of those horses, One Master and Under the Stars, are going to get a good pace to aim at as well. We should be able to gauge just exactly how much water has gone on down at Glorious Goodwood, I think, after this. Agincourt was one. We spoke this morning about this, didn't we? Agincourt, who has got form against One Master and Under the Stars, went to Ascot last weekend, got no sort of run whatsoever and was eased off. Ryan Moore keeps the ride again. If you're going to go for one of the outsiders, Agincourt shouldn't, I don't think, be around about 20 to 1.
Yeah, she's 20s on the exchange. Yeah, she ran really well at Royal Ascot, didn't she? I didn't know if that just seemed a bit of a standout bit of form from her, though, this year. She didn't.
Yeah, but she has produced, hasn't
yeah,
she?
yeah. Like she's got it in her locker.
It's the
yeah.
mum's tipple syndrome, isn't it? I mean, if you have actually done it, you can do it again. It's just a question of whether the circumstances are right, you know?
Yeah.
10, 12 minutes in, we've already mentioned mum's tipple. Let's get a social. We've got one for Bruce on the screen, I think. I knew you were coming back in, Bruce. What does Bruce think about Boomer? 145 at 33. He's won over course and distance in a Group 3 on the same ground last year.
Well, Jack, very interesting, because I was about to jump in and just discuss Boomer, because if you remember, Boomer is the horse that I think all the Racing Post judges tipped in the 1,000 guineas. And she ran poorly there, and she didn't do much next time out either. But it's kind of a Dascombe territory, this, isn't it? Downhill, dust flying under the hooves. If she's ever going to come back, it will be here. So I wouldn't put Jack off a place bet and even an each way bet, you know.
Yeah,
She
course
was
and
behind
distance winner.
Under the
as well,
Stars,
yeah.
wasn't she, at Haydock on the quick ground. And you thought that was the day when it was 7-2 Haydock, Dascombe and Kingscote. So I guess she's got to prove she's trained on, really.
Yeah, I suspect she's just a speedy 2-year-old and that we won't see a great deal more of her. But if you are going to keep the faith for one more time, these are the circumstances you should probably do so. But again, I mean, it's an enormous leap of faith to think that she's going to suddenly improve sufficiently to trouble One Master. 2
favs have won this in the last 3 years, but they're the only 2 favs outright in the last 10 years. The 33 to 1 shot has indeed won it. That was Amy Airy. I really don't remember that one at all. That was 2015. We should remember that. Trying to see who went off fav that day. There were joints. Oh, it was fuddy. Basically a bad renewal of the Oak Tree Stakes. One Master has been beaten in this, of course, before. 2 years ago, she got beaten. She was a 14 to 1 shot. Pretty Baby, the stablemate did her that day.
Interesting that, you know, if we look at the past winners, French runners have won 3 of the last 5 by the looks of it. And that was one of the reasons why I quite liked Wasima.
Give us a line then.
Because we have seen her this year. She ran at Royal Ascot, but I think if you can remember back, there was all sorts of like logistical travel issues with horses coming over at that time. And I think the trainer was a little bit, I wouldn't say outspoken, but he was on record voicing his sort of... and he was sort of on record saying that things didn't go right for her, it didn't go smoothly for her. And I quite like these French fillies when they come over because they're running on like the quickest ground she's ever run on before. But there's absolutely no reason to suggest she won't handle it, and she could improve for it. So she could be a bit of a flyer.
Been punted, hasn't she?
Yeah, and she is being backed. She's been backed, so she's into 14 now.
We've got another social, guys. Let's go and then let's see who's come on to join the party. It's Alan Waltham. Alan, good to have you. One Master is a class act here, weighing in with Bruce as well. We were speaking to David Jennings, our Irish correspondent, having a really good day, really fancy as well. So basically, if she goes on the ground, she's an even money shot. So
she's solid now, isn't she, Neil?
Yeah, absolutely. 2.64. So, yeah, a lot shorter than when we backed her out. So she's into 13 to 8. But, and yeah, the French horse is being backed from a high of 30 into 13.5. So she's probably the story here, really. Yeah,
and we haven't mentioned Breathtaking Look, who's vying now for second favouritism for Jim Crowley, and Stuart Williams, who's one of those trainers you think, I've always got to give these ones a second look. You know?
And my slight worry about her is that she's huge. Yeah. I worried about how she was going to go on the track. We saw English King yesterday, didn't we? Stevie Donohoe said he's small, he's going to hate this track. And I asked him about what sort of size horse you want, at Goodwood. He said you don't want to be on a beast, basically.
They're all the same size, though. they're even the biggest one is about 2% bigger than the smaller one.
Well, the big barrel that is Breathtaking Look. I tell you what, me and Bruce do this every show. All the regulars will know this. Bruce just thinks they look absolutely all the same. What's the difference between them? But you watch her, if you're watching on your pictures, you'll see she's quite a big sort. She likes to get out in front. She's in stall 9 as well. Jim Crowley.
She's got some good form behind Oxted, who won the July Cup. So
she first time out, that was, wasn't it? Was that the Abernant? It was.
Yeah, which was over 6. But she does have, I think she does have winning form over 7.
Invitational has just bucked at Zaney out the front door there.
The majority are going in, so last chance to play them for the Oak Tree Stakes, the first race on Friday, 4th day of the glorious week we're having at Goodwood. We've got one more day tomorrow as well. Stewards Cup Day. Paul Keeley joins us in the studio there. We're going to cover Newmarket as well.
Got 9 races to get through, haven't you?
It's a nightmare. I was going to put my feet up tonight and have a nice glass of wine. Not a chance. Not a chance. Study all the way.
Yeah, excellent stuff.
All right, so Bruce, you ready to call? We're going to have a bit of a...
Yeah, we'll have a chat. We'll keep you updated with the market throughout. As I'll just take you through the prices just before they go off. It's 2.62 One Master, 7 Altica, 7.8 Breathtaking at 13 Under the Stars. The French is... Blimey, Wasmere is now 10.
Yeah, 9 to 1 she is now.
Sparked
10.5 on the exchange. Yeah, I should have backed her when we said about it to start with.
You should, yeah. So what are the charity bets? And we've just had One Master.
Just One Master win. Yeah.
All right, okay, so we're cheering on that, whatever. Okay, they're all in then. Over to Bruce Millington. The 145 is about to jump off. Good luck wherever you're playing.
7 Furlongs the Trip, rearing up at the start, I think was Invitational, who hasn't been the best behaved in the preparatory stage of the race. Going through the early stages, it's not a fast pace. Wasmere is up there. Cutting out the early running is Chardon, Sheen Murphy getting across to the rail and coming across from a wide draw. Breathtaking Look, very prominent as well. Any market moves, Neil?
One Master a lot shorter now, so she's into 6 to 4, 2.5. So the market's speaking very positively of her. And Wasima is a little bit shorter as well. Breathtaking Look, clear second favourite now, 5 to 1.
What price under the stars, Neil? I think she's going quite well.
16, Dave. 16.
Okay.
One Master's in 7th, but the trouble is she's tucked in on the rail in that kind of Kamiko position, and so as we go towards the straight, Breathtaking Look is leading from Chardon, and they've got 3 to go, and One Master's going to have to find a way through.
She's probably only got one option there, which is to stick on the rail.
Here come the closers, guys.
The trouble is, if the French filly Wasmere shuts the door, then he's in a world of trouble, Tom Marcon. And that is exactly what's happened. So what price is One Master now?
Here comes under the stars.
2 to 1, but she's still travelling okay.
Come on, PJ, let her go.
Is that Valerie?
Here goes, she's trying to get out.
He's been up to it now, she's got to run.
She's getting out now.
But the bird has flown, and that is Valerina Melasalina. Valerina Melasalina. Here comes One Master, not going to get there. Not going to get there.
She got there, did she?
Oh, was that a double bluff? I don't think so in the run. Absolutely fantastic stuff. We don't know what's going to happen here on RP Live. That was a sensational finish. All of a sudden, if your energy levels were low, they've gone through the roof. Tom Marquand was sweating on a run. Look, she's got there, guys, hasn't she?
Yeah. Well, you can back the other one at 130.
Frankie Dettori denied on the line. Goodness gracious me.
1.02.
One master.
1.02.
Neil Hubbard, story of the race then.
Yeah, well, actually, the runner-up not matched as short as I perhaps thought she would have been. 1.55, so only 2's on the runner-up. I thought she may have gone shorter. I mean, she was going to be one of the ones that I played in the place market against One Master.
Yeah.
You did the right thing changing your mind there, didn't you?
Yeah, just about got away with that.
He's having a right old week, is Neil Hubbard. I tell you what, so listen, Racing Well, I tell you what, Tom Marquand, I said this on What a Shout, our feature
winner.
show a couple of weeks ago. I want to see jockeys celebrating more. And Bruce Millington, he's just given a right old pat down the neck. Tom Marquand showing some absolute emotion there. Fantastic.
So what was the biggest price One Master then?
7.8.
7.8. It did look a little bit dodgy, didn't it?
Big time.
Do you know what though? I remember Paul Kelly a few years ago saying the 3 best jockeys are Dettori, Moore and Hughes because at Goodwood they'll go for the gaps, and Marquand had to do that.
I was going to say he was very decisive, wasn't he?
He was.
Really
Other people sit
it.
and they're like, don't fancy that as the door closes, but he forced the favourite through there.
A lot of people were saying with Mahatha, with Jim Crowley when he won the Sussex, Mahatha got Jim out of trouble. It's not an easy track to do this at, is it? It takes a real top notch, and what we've seen there in the final furling is a Group 1 filly running down, well, Group 3 fillies really, on level weights. And
yeah, we definitely knew he had the horse under her.
You can see why they're running in a Diamond Jubilee, for example. If there was a soft ground sprint, it's for her. So there's the result. Let's get it up on screen. Do we have it? There we go. One Master, 6-4. Well done, boys, in the studio. Valerie Mussolina for Jessie Harrington. Oh, just touched off again in another race. Her horses run really well when they come over. And Althika for Godolphin. Just watching her in the run, chaps, as well. She had a bit of a wall, the grey in front of her as well. Under the Stars came. I thought she was going to do it. She's run a little bit flat. Agincourt, too wide, I think. Probably she didn't start that great. Couple of other also-rans in the race. What else was disappointing? Breathtaking Look. Just one paced, I think we can say that. Ananerium's run well, chaps. Have a look back at that. First time out for Hannon. That was going to be difficult, I think. And she's running on for about 5th. Maybe if you're taking an eye catcher out of it, it might be that. What a great start.
That was a really, really good race. And you've just got to admire Marquand's bottle there, haven't you? Because he's like, look, I'm going to go inside, come what may. But he knows that between 3 furlongs out and 1 furlong out, it's not going to open up because horses lug down onto the rail. So he's got to do something pretty risky. And
he wasn't going to die wondering, was he? He took that opportunity.
You called it in the run, Bruce, because in stall 2 right next to him was Wasmir, the French filly. You said, if he closes the door, James Dole, we are in trouble. James Dole's ridden, of course, One Master a couple of times. And Tom had to fight his way out. Last off the bridle, look, the best horse has won by, wasn't that exciting.
Really close up, haven't they, Dave? I mean, Boomer's last, but she's probably only beaten 7 lengths. So
did she finish last, Boomer?
Really close finish. Yeah, I think close. She's going to have to come back down in trip.
The principles came clear towards the finish. When you're writing, an analysis, for example, that's usually points you to the way that the form will work out okay, but very messy and behind. Can I steal something off you, by the way, for analysis?
Yeah.
You said in that commentary, preparatory stage of the race.
Well, it's not exactly Latin,
I've been
is it?
doing
you know what that means.
I've been doing this for nearly 20 years. I've never written that. I'm going to take it.
That's the preparatory stage, milling around at the stalls and then actually getting out of the stalls.
Preparatory
stage. And how well is that horse run actually Invitation? Run on really well, considering she bucked the jockey off and then was up on her hind leg, I was going to say paws, hooves in the stalls.
That greyhound story.
Yeah, it's my old greyhound pedigree coming back. But look, they've all finished in a heat there. They really have. And who did you have as your eye catcher?
Oh, I thought Ananerium in the black cat with the green.
Yeah,
she's run well.
Yeah.
She's not. She obviously had a bit of a hold up.
Invitational did run well though.
Did run well, considering, like I say, naughty beforehand and then a real proper rear up at the start. But look, if you run that race another 10 times, One Master's going to win 8 or 9 of them.
Let's say she was drawn in 3 or 4. She's won by a couple of lengths there, hasn't she? So look, great to see her back to winning ways. All about the foray for her now going forward. A repeat bid.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she's running it twice, or she won it twice.
Tell you what.
There's a bit of talk, by the way, of a 7 furlong Group 1 over here, isn't it? I think, but I might have mentioned this on the show before. 7 furlongs is treated as this sort of twilight zone, but it shouldn't be. Why is 6 furlongs so loved?
We spoke about it on the show this week. Actually,
Tony Ennis was in on the opening day, and he said, "I'm going to start a campaign for a 7 furlong." So I said, "Well, would it take something away from the Sussex people from the pattern committee, probably spitting out their soup at lunch or whatever?" But I think that now the 7 furlong division is actually looking pretty hot, isn't it? And there's a lot of love for San Donato from the Sussex coming back for 7.
Yeah.
Seen loads of social media about that because he did that lovely mid-race move. A horse that you quite like, San Donato, isn't he? Yeah,
he is
and
good, yeah.
Space Blues, who looks like the 7
Pinatubo.
furlong king.
Pinatubo, exactly.
Pinatubo, it's all there, isn't
And
it?
Dave, the other thing is, like it or not, we are breeding faster
exactly.
horses. So you're going to have to give more love to these shorter trips, unfortunately. It's something I think we'll touch on later in the show because I think British racing's got a huge problem with a real lack of quality in middle distance.
We'll save that for the Desert Encounter race, shall we?
Yeah.
Because that is something we can
Just a
burn
quick
on
one
about.
here. One Master 12-1 introduced for the Sprint Cup.
That's
Cup.
interesting, isn't
If
it?
the ground goes
September the
soft.
6th, I'm thinking that is.
It's that a month before the Arc, isn't it?
Yeah, so perfect place
Normally
to go.
heavy ground, isn't it? Or soft ground.
It's normally heavy. But is that a bit quick for it? Is she one of these like Sir Dancelot who wins the male equivalent of the Oak Tree, you know, the Lennox? He's one of these, isn't he, where if it's a heavy ground Group 1, the likes of Kills will go, right, this is his time. He just does these sprints.
He's the other one, Done One Triumphant. He's another one.
Yeah, he is.
When
But
the
I mean,
ground
who
goes
else is
heavy.
going to be a runner for that, really? Is Oxted going to be...
Yeah, Oxted
It
would
would be
one,
ground
wouldn't it?
dependent.
I mean,
you'd
Art
imagine, wouldn't
Power,
it? Golden
you think,
Horde will be going
Art
back
Power?
there. Art Power. They talk about him for the Nunthorpe, of course.
Yeah.
Sizzling Nunthorpe. We're going to be covering RP Live here at York as well. Could York be the beneficiary of the first trial crowd back now? Not until August the 15th can we have Sports Stadia being trialled. Unfortunately, Goodwood tomorrow, those Panama hats are going to have to stay indoors. Goodwood would have had to do loads of work for that as well, wouldn't they? All the
there's a
staff
lot of staff being recruited in facilities and all that work they tried to do to get the on-course bookmakers because they didn't even want to go. Well,
what was your take on the cardless?
Cashless.
Contactless, sorry.
Well, I mentioned it in the column. I just think with on-course betting, one of the things you do it for, you're going to get better value on your phone. It's a kind of quaint throwback to when we all started punting, and it's cash.
Yeah.
If I have a score on something at 6 to 1, I want 140 quid back in a nice wad of cash.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah,
and so I didn't see the point of it. I just didn't see the point. There was no legal requirement for it. So.
Tony Ennis on Tuesday said, I don't want my wife to see the betting statement.
Well, I mean...
how many times are you going to see Bet365 or Betfair coming up on your...
This is a big issue for a lot of punters. You know, they bet cash because they don't want their wife to see that they've been...
Or the financial advisor, if you're going for a mortgage or something like that, there's a way to do it, innit? So there's all sorts of problems there, I think. So
that margin was actually reasonably clear in the end, wasn't it?
Well, I thought she got there on the dod. How are
What's
you
the
calling
dod?
on the nod? On the dod? Did I say on
You
the
got
dod?
mixed up. You were going to say nod, and then you said...
I was going to say dog. I was going to say dog. I've done it again. And thank you, Bruce, for pulling me up. But what I was going to say was, how good at you at calling photo
Photos.
finishes because of
Brilliant.
your dog days?
Brilliant.
I
I got that
not
wrong
too
because
bad.
I'm trying to concentrate. I'm rubbish at commentating, so I was just focusing on that. I am the photo finish king.
I actually used
promise
to I used to commentate on greyhounds at no sort of level whatsoever. I used to do it on Sky, but I never got to the proper level. Clive Lawrence and the boys that take over in the studio will tell you that. And do you know what? If it did anything for me, it taught me about photo finishes. And perhaps I think if I
Favours
was...
the near side.
Yeah, usually near side
favours the near side.
and the closer.
Can I tell you a very quick story?
Please.
When I worked at Catford Dog Track, I was in charge one day because the racing manager was away. And do you remember a legendary greyhound called Skirlow Champ?
Yes.
He was entered in a race at Catford. That meant 5,000 people packed into Catford.
Brilliant.
At the time, it was like the Beatles,
Yeah.
He was a king of dog racing. And it was a marathon over 888 metres. And Skirlow Champ used to drop himself out and almost get lapped and then come late and just get up on the line.
Marvellous.
30 seconds before the race, the fellow who operates the photo finish comes in and he holds this piece of photographic film. It's about 3 inches long. I said, what's that? He goes, we've run out of film. I said, what does that mean? He goes, you've got to judge this by your eye.
No, and it's the head bobbing champ.
Exactly. So I've got the vision of the horse, of the dog just about getting up, and I've got to view it with
What
the
were you
naked
doing
eye.
at Catford? Were you managing?
I was assistant racing manager.
Yeah, okay.
I loved it. It was great. But anyway, it was about the one time Skirlow Champ jumped out and he led with a lap to go and won by about 14.
Nice and easy. Did you get promoted?
No, I didn't.
You
but
became
I was
editor of the Racing
so
Post
pleased.
instead.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay.
Good
We
consolation.
digress slightly. Listen, we're having loads of fun again here on Fantastic Friday, the 4th day of glorious Goodwood. We've got one more day to go, but plenty of racing to bring you this afternoon. One master, were you with it? Have you been mastering the bookies this week, or have you indeed been on the laying side of things on Betfair and getting the dough? Let us know. Get your social comments in, hashtag RP Live. Right, we're cooking with gas. What have we got next, guys, coming up? Remind me. Calusi. Goodness gracious me, the Britannia winner. Best Britannia winner in the last 10 years?
God, I couldn't remember the previous ones, but he
was
good.
The only other one I remember is the Rafe Beckett thing that scuppered the John Gosden
biometric.
The Frankie zillion times.
Was it biometric?
Yeah. Well, we actually got a Britannia winner going in the Golden Mile a bit later. Bless him.
Oh, bless him. Bless him.
Yeah,
another one. So Bruce is on a bit of a roll. Giving away our selections, but quite right. If you want to know him, get him in. We'll give him to you nice and early. No problems there. Calusi's going to be a short price then, Neil. Should we get the market up for the one? It's the Bonham's Thoroughbred Stakes, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, 1.65 Calusi, which is 4 to 6 in fractional terms. He did open up amazingly, bigger than even money for this when betting first opened. But he's been well supported, and he's probably more the type of price that you would have thought he might have been for this. My Oberon next, 4.1. Tilsit, 12. Mystery Power, 19. And the outsider is 44. Yeah, I think there's probably a case for saying Calusi could be a little bit shorter, but it is a tricky little race. And actually on the exchange, I'm probably going to play this a slightly different way. There is a market without the favourite, because I do think Calusi is the most likely winner, as the market suggests. But without the favourite, my Oberon is then a similar price to Calusi, 1.77. And Tilsit is 4.5, which is 7 to 2. And I know you don't want to get too carried away visually with performances, but Tilsit won by 19 lengths on his last run. He was a non-runner at Newmarket. He was going to run the other day, but he got pulled out on account of them wanting quicker ground. Well, he's obviously got that here. It looks a pretty much of a match between him and my Oberon here, and I think the 7 to 2 on Tilsit or in the market without Calusi is where I'm going to play this. So Tilsit 4.5. I'm not going to go overboard on this though, because of my Oberon could be anything, the cliche. But we'll have 25 quid at 4.5, which is 7 to 2 in fractional terms on Tilsit, without the favourite.
Right. So we're all big fans of Calusi, I think, Bruce.
Yeah, I think you have to be, don't you? I mean, there are issues. I mean, it's all very well looking at that devastating turn of foot to win the Britannia. It was astonishing. Yeah. Absolutely, outrageous, really. But obviously, that's, left its mark in terms of ratings, all that kind of thing. And he's up in class now. And that was on soft ground, and this is very unsoft.
I looked into the soft ground side of his pedigree, and I also looked into trying to find some quotes from Roger as well. And he actually says in his race analysis quote, you can find all the quotes from Royal Ascot and all the races that have been run this year at the bottom of the analysis in the members club. If you're going on there, we were worried about the soft ground. And actually, his dam was placed a couple of times on fast ground. She didn't actually win, but she's from a fantastic wine stock family, I think she's from. He should be absolutely fine from it. He's a Dubawi, isn't he? I think he'll be fine. The hanging across the track was something. I mean, this is an undulating track. This isn't very well, and unbalanced. Why did he hang across the track? That was something. I was saying, is he the best Britannia winner? They've marked him on a par with War Envoy, who won it for Aidan O'Brien in 2015. Forgot about that. Apart from that, can't remember exactly what War Envoy went and did. Probably one of those that just came short at the top level, was he? But
Mike de Kock, probably.
But certainly since then, they've absolutely, this ratings boys all over Calusi. The other people all over Calusi are the My Racing guys. Good to have you on board, myracing.com. Check out their Twitter. They've got a massive old following on that, and their website for expert analysis and tips. They've napped Calusi, guys. So they're giving it really, really simple. But they have got a treble going on, which is quite interesting. One master was in that for them. And, of course, you can guess it, Batash as well. So big for the guys at My Racing, this Calusi. Shall we see what David Jennings has got to think? Because I like Calusi as well. Does he agree?
A small field for this Group 3, but it's a fascinating race. And Calusi and My Oberon are two horses who I think will be contesting Group 1s before the season is out. But My Oberon is a really, really talented horse. I was really impressed with what he showed at York. But I just think with Calusi, I think when we go back to that Britannia win, it was phenomenal, really, when you were watching it, because Fine and Sound stretched 4 lengths clear of Cherokee Trail. It was arguably one of the most impressive performances of Royal Ascot. And on official figures, he's £10 ahead of My Oberon. So it's boring. I think the favourite will beat the second favourite.
Cheers, DJ. Happy days. We'll be hearing from Dave for his selections throughout the afternoon. We know you love that. 4 big ticks for Calusi then. Is he a big price then?
I think he is. Well, I'll tell you what he is. He's a perfectly fair price. If you like, but some people, they have a blind spot with odds on. I never quite know why. I mean, I don't know why the difference between 10 to 11 and even should be any bigger than 85 to 14, 2 to 1. But it is with a lot of people. But if you are into it, it's tax-free. I think this is a perfectly fair 4 to 6 punt.
Should we talk about My Oberon? I wrote his race when he won at York 13 days ago, and it looked like it was a 2-horse race. There was a varying horse filly in the race as well. I came down on the side of My Oberon, then the market really went for it, and I haven't enjoyed writing about a race as an analyst for such a long time because I thought I'd seen something rather special. Now, take Calusi out of this, and I would quite happily have him on top, which the market suggests is the case. Mm-hmm. But a word for Tilsit, who you've mentioned. I remember speaking to Ben Curtis about this chap, and he's, we asked him for a nap on a feature show that we did, and he said, "Can I nap Tilsit?" And Paul Keeley was on the panel with us, and he went, "It's going to be 9s on, man." And indeed, it went and won by 19 lengths. It's never run on turf before, but that speed figure that he got for winning at Newcastle, woo!
Well, he was behind Alsat on his debut. Who didn't who didn't actually run that back. Was he placed earlier in the week?
He ran okay for Haggis. And
and he's Tilsit has actually been sent off odds on both his starts, which you can understand for the second of them after his debut. But it was interesting that he was sent off odds on his debut as well. So he's clearly well thought of. The fact that they've skipped soft ground with him as well. I mean, he's American bred. He's obviously going to enjoy this quick ground as well. Nothing has come out. There's been 10 runners from his 19-length win have come out and none of them have done anything yet. But, I mean, he was so far clear. I mean...
Yeah, I think you have to believe it was a really
speed-wise, it just looked... the clock didn't lie with him, I don't think. We gave him a split second of 1:18, which is...
It's just interesting, isn't it? Behind Calusi,
for example.
You've got both My Oberon and Tilsit, who are both, super exciting horses. They've just found one. It's interesting, because they've both run into one here with Calusi, yet Calusi has actually probably been found quite a nice opportunity for him.
Yeah. Some previous winners of this, Duke of Hazard, who we, do you remember him winning it last year for PJ McDonald, found all sorts of trouble and got through great rides, second in the Lennox Stakes this season round. Regal Reality, Beat the Bank, the ill-fated Beat the Bank, Group 1 winner, In recent years, this race has really come back into fashion. I think this is just as exciting, although a small field on the day.
You can absolutely believe this will go on and be a race that, at least 2 of those front 3 could go on and be top level, couldn't you? I'm interested that RPRs have My Oberon only 4th best. Now, I know that obviously with the way ratings are and horses' careers progress, that you probably couldn't make it much higher, but... the here and now is that he's got to race against these other 4 today, and he is 4th best in the rating. So, I actually think that I had another little peek at that market that you've gone.
Do you fancy the other side of it?
No, I thought Tilsit was a really good alternative without the favourite. So I fully endorse what you've done there.
But to back that up, I'm really surprised that there's that much disparity between him and My Oberon in the market. What about Mystery Power? A word for the other 2 then. Richard Hannon's horse, who was a 2-year-old, looked like he was a definite group winner. It was better last time, although he didn't look that straightforward. Is he guaranteed to get home? Not sure.
Yeah, because he was a pretty good juvenile. He won a Group 2, and then he ran in the Jersey this year, didn't he? Finished 9th. That was okay. He was well beaten last time at Newmarket, wasn't he? But I think Sylvester was on him last time, wasn't he? He was having his mind made up. I mean, he was well beaten, but they didn't stop riding on him, did he?
He just didn't look very straightforward. He was rolling around a little bit. What about Repartee then for Kevin Ryan, Andrea Azzini? Really disappointing in sprint races. Does this stink of a bit of desperation on this chap?
Yeah, he's up from 6 furlongs, isn't he, to a mile. Again, pretty good juvenile. He was 3rd behind Threat in the Jim Crack, so he's got plenty of back class there. But his 2 runs, I mean, he did win on his debut at seasonal debut at Windsor this year, and then he was just rubbish last time, wasn't it, Newbury? But probably too bad to be true.
He's
maybe.
Got lovely pedigrees by Invincible Spirit out of a half sister and unraced half sister.
Just massively up in trip, isn't he? It just seems a bit of a roll of the dice, doesn't it?
I just think with those 2 horses, they're both really exposed.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe that the 3 up-and-comers none of them are going to be good enough and progressive enough to get past those, So they set a decent standard, having said that.
It'd be a pretty disappointing... if we're sat here in 10 minutes' time, whatever, and one of Mystery Power or Repartee have won, then something's got to have gone
Put
quite
a line
badly
through,
wrong.
move on. I'll tell you what else I like about Calusi. Obviously, I mentioned my Oberon's York run. Varian had the runner-up that day. They kind of should have a line on that. Also, will be winning next time, I'm sure. The other thing that Varian will be liking about this, Rog, his trainer, is that it's likely that my Oberon and Tilsit will probably try and get on with this a little bit more than Calusi will. You can't see Calusi leading, for example, at all, can you?
Not at all. I mean, unless he's just so keen and the pace is so slow that Jim just thinks, well, I may as well go on here because leading isn't the end of the world here by any means, is it? But I'm just thinking back to Tilsit, who's 13 here, which makes him officially unpopular in the market. Do you think there's almost like a kind of inverse snobbery to that 19-length win where, on the face of it, you'd say, well, that horse has won that race by 19 lengths with its head in its chest.
Yeah.
But then you're going to get these kind of counter-shrewdies coming out saying, yeah, but the race was so bad. And I get that, but you've still got to be some sort of animal.
To win that
if
far.
you beat Cattle by 19 lengths, you're half decent.
You beat me by 19 lengths, you're doing all right. He's rated 98 as well, guys, isn't he? So the handicapper thinks he should be finishing last in this. But of course, he has to give him that sort of rating after that sort of race.
Yeah.
They could have gone to a three-year-old handicap down the line. They could have flown it
couldn't
apart. So
he
look,
could actually get quite, and I know this isn't something that you're necessarily too bothered about, Bruce, what I'm about to say, but he could just get quite an easy lead here as well, because nothing else, like they're not going to go on with Repartee because they don't know if he stays or not. Calusi won't be ridden like that. Mystery Power, maybe not as well. I know it was a rubbish race at Newcastle, but he did just jump out and make call, and he could just get quite a soft lead here.
No, I do agree with that, and the point there is that the jockeys on the two market leaders are then going to have to wonder what they're going to do, aren't they?
Yeah, because they don't really know how good he is either.
Exactly.
No, they're making their way down to the start then for the second race. Small field, but my goodness, we could go on and on and on. Let us know what your opinions are. We've got another social on the screen, I believe. We have Kerry Skates joins us again. No bet race for me, says Kerry. Favourite should win. Well too short, however, for me. Well, there's a point to remind you about the responsible gambling, of course. Don't go absolutely all in on this, whatever you do. We still don't know if Calusi is going to really, really prove up to be. His handicap is one afterwards. I mean, we should get the... Look, he was a devastating winner, but... Maybe just with a small field, it could be a little bit cat and mousey. What do we reckon he might do in the running, Neil, just quickly?
I don't know. I mean, that's
could this be a Stradivarius type thing?
No, I think because it's so small in a field, you're gonna have your eyes easily on all of the runners, if you know what I mean. It's not like he can be hidden away and you're going to miss him or anything like that. So it might, through the early stages at least, be a relatively dull race in terms of in running until until it starts to heat up. Unless, of course, Tilsit gets a quite soft lead, and he would shorten up then, I do think, yeah.
Another point to take into consideration today, not just for this race, but all of them, is extraordinarily hot today. Okay, so you're going to get some horses are really going to boil over.
Lava.
And you're going to get some horses that are really, really keen. Others will be switched off. So I think in the early stages, I always think it's an enormous negative if a horse starts chucking its head around. And that could be one factor that does create some market ripples.
Yeah, it's an interesting one with Calusi, though, in terms of, like you were talking, Dave, about how he hung across the track and that. That was only his third run, of course, so there might still be a bit of... be a bit of green in there as well. But what's really interesting for me with him as well, they've gone pretty softly with him, because like he absolutely destroyed that Britannia field, and he could have been pitched in at a higher class than this, really. I know it is a Group 3 from a handicap, so that in itself is a big leap, but he's probably been perhaps benefited from having Mahatha in the same ownership, else they could have rolled the dice in
They
the
could
Sussex
definitely,
or
they
something
could
like
have
that.
done. couldn't they?
No one would have been totally surprised had he rocked up.
No, and I think he's benefited from the owner having probably a really good season so far and having a horse like Mahatha.
And that might also just show that they were so confident with Mahatha.
Yeah,
there's no point, there's no point.
Because the Summer Mile as well, the race that Mahatha won, I presume 3-year-olds can run in now. I can't remember what the restriction is, but he could have run in that as well here. But, they've elected to wait for this again. So they have been sort of minding him a little bit as well, which perhaps suggests that they do think a lot of him as well.
They're casually strolling down to the start, we should say. What are we? Well, again, we look like we're going to be slightly over here this time. We'll catch up a little bit, Goodwood, please. The time in the second, slow by 1.8. So that's a bit more like it, isn't it? Yeah. They watered on the round course, the sprint course, which we'll get to later on the show. Batash coming up at 3:15 is good to firm all the way.
Is that why they haven't watered it? Because of the tash?
We
Because they
could-
want to see a course record? Is there a
Stevie
bit of-
Donohoe, the 6 furlong course record holder on Tamagin, that's safe for today, I think we can say. But fascinating story, Bruce. I don't know if you were watching yesterday when he was talking about riding against Jim Crowley. He said, when I was on Tamagin, I just saw off Jim Crowley. He shouts at horses, apparently.
Yeah, he
Jim
talks
Crowley.
a lot during the race.
Apparently he
as I said.
shouts at horses, which makes you think. And he said that helped me, and I'm like, why? What's the horse? What do you want?
A lot
No
of them
way.
shout though, don't they? A lot of
Well,
them
we were
shout.
saying, what about a jockey Mike in between the 2 and 3 furlong marker
wouldn't you love
at Goodwood?
that?
He said,
Wouldn't you love
you
that?
would have to have the bleep machine, bleep, 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 bleep,
Yeah.
bleep. But
I would
Yeah,
love
but you
to
could
hear
have
that.
it and then play it back, though, couldn't you?
do you
know
think
what I mean? It
that's
doesn't have to be
something
live.
Exactly, yeah. You
like
wouldn't
an
do it live.
umpire? You couldn't do it live.
No, you couldn't do it live, but I always think with sport it should be heard as well as seen. And one sport that I'm not particularly mad on but does it brilliant is rugby.
Yeah.
You know, miking up
The
the
ref.
ref is fantastic.
Yeah.
It'd be an
Imagine
inter-
if you had that in football.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting one, though, when
Is that
you're
why
in
they're
your...
so polite to him, is it? Because they know they're being...
It'd be an interesting one, though, when you're in your members club and you're watching your videos back. Like, if you could have the alternative commentary. Because, like, you know, to open an account, you've got to be over 18 and all this, responsible gambling.
like a Ross Briley special.
Well, no, the alternative commentary, though, could be the jockey cam.
the jockey-
like
that
the
would
jockey
be
mic,
brilliant.
couldn't it? So then you could flick between it just to
But
get an
sometimes,
interpretation
if you
of
go
it.
racing, say you go Fontwell on a nice winter's day, you just want to get out and get down there, and you go down and I always try and watch race down by the fences at Fontwell. It's fantastic,
love
and you can
Fontwell.
hear them yelling.
Yeah.
You can really come on. I know what did Fallon
Especially
used
when
to
they're
Fallon
riding
used
into
to
a fence
whistle,
and
didn't
stuff.
he?
He did.
Fallon
Yes,
was
he
a
did. Kieran
whistler.
Fallon used to whistle as
I
well.
tell you, and
yeah.
never mind whistling. We'll be singing songs by the time this race is off.
What is this? What is
They're
this?
miles
Do you
away.
think
and
with
they're
the
just
heat
strolling.
they're being told to just get them down in one piece? Or
I don't know. I mean, surely they're perfectly capable of trotting down. I mean, they're
Yeah.
literally walking, and they are a long, long way to go yet. So
go back to something Stevie said. He said the all-weather tracks are great for getting your horse down to start because you literally go to furlong, do a turn. Ascot's good because you come out and the start
left or right, can't you?
They're
Yeah.
literally. But tracks like York, tracks like Goodwood, he said that
Newmarket.
you can blow the brains out of a horse and
I bet.
a Newmarket as
I
well.
wouldn't
so-
think to be any excuse for this, though. This is just
this is
shoddy
slow, isn't it?
timekeeping.
What price Calusi now then? Let's have a look at this market and concentrate. Are the big hitters really getting steamed in?
Yeah, a little bit shorter now, 4 to 7, 1.58. So getting a little bit shorter, definitely. My Oberon, 4.5, which is around the price he was last night. Tilsit is the weak one. He was around 8 last night and he's out to 13. Mystery Power, a little bit of money for him, 17. And Repartee is not favourable in the market.
Thanks, Neil. This could be a real roll-on to favourites here because prompting for David O'Mara and Harry Bentley has got the low draw and the Golden Mile coming up next. So just had a little look at that market. He's 3 to 1's about to go, I think. And then, of course, you've got Patash as well. So muggy, they're called or not. These multiples will have the bookmakers.
I hate that expression, muggy. It's so insulting. It's
Yeah.
a bet people want to do, and I know you're not calling them mugs, but when these
almost
snooty,
like- yeah.
pseudo-shrewdy stuff, it's a mug hacker and all. I hate that.
But
It's a
don't you
bet
find the people
want
that
to
do
have.
them tend to sort of say, I've done the muggy treble?
They
You know what I
do,
mean?
they do, yeah,
Elliot
they
Hackney,
do.
one of our senior producers in the studio, he did one which paid off and he came in, I've done the muggy treble. You know, like
Nothing
that.
wrong with that.
No,
if you
so
back
exactly.
over the popular horses and they'll win, fair
Just
play
keeping
to
it
them.
on the obvious.
Yeah.
I know loads of successful punters that do just get home in on what they think will win that day and just multiply them up.
I think that the traditional bookmakers will be very pleased that our Kaka in the first was a very well backed favourite
Got
and
turned over.
wasn't cited. I think if this Calusi wins, that will be.
I haven't seen any numbers.
Going
but
in, guys.
I
They
haven't
are
seen
finally
any
going
numbers,
in.
but because of the ITV races, the one master Calusi Batash treble is bound to be incredibly popular. I think it was around perhaps 4 to 1, something
that
like
right?
that, maybe.
That's very
Yesterday, maybe a
attractive
little
when you
bit
think
bigger.
about it like that.
Because
Right,
it's on
Bruce,
ITV as well, it's going to attract a lot of punters into
They
that.
are going in, Bruce Millington. Are you ready to call home? Hopefully, for us guys in the studio, we want to see something special with Calusi, but we respect the opposition.
Interesting race this, actually, because there's only like 5 runners. We have got coming up to 1.4 million on the exchange that's been matched on this, which is as much as what there was on the first race. So only the 5 runners, but it's proven a really popular race.
Whoa! Mystery Power
Yeah.
blows the start massively. I think you can forget that. That's out to. Well, it's only out to 30, so
Probably suggests they're not going
And
quick, isn't
Calusi
it?
is shaking his head around. He's not settled, and I always think that is a mega negative. What does the market make of it?
Yeah, 8 to 11, so out to 1.8. So yeah, not popular. But Mystery Power hasn't moved too much. My Oberon's the one though, into 2 to 1, 11 to 5.
The surprise here, guys, is that Tilsit hasn't eyeballed my Oberon, and
he's travelling nicely though. He's relaxed.
This is a Ryan Moore prompt on Tilsit, that's for sure. He's sort of upset the apple cart, but Calusi, to my eyes, now look like he's settled a bit better, Bruce.
Yeah, that was only a very brief waggle of the head, to be fair. He's settled down. They're on the way downhill, and my Oberon is 2 lengths clear of Calusi, who's 2 lengths clear of Tilsit. And then there's a length back to the other two, Mystery Power, who's recovered after that slow start, and Repartee. But my Oberon, Tom Marquand, in the previous race, got himself tucked up in that pocket on One Mastery's Planet. Nice and simple now as they saunter towards the 3 furlong pole and start to unwind.
3's on Calusi. 3's on Calusi.
Yeah, he's going really, really well here, guys. It's a case of what he finds.
Tilsit's coming.
Yeah, Tilsit 2 to 1. Tilsit 2's on. Tilsit 2's on.
All upside each other. The big three are all upside each other.
He's been done.
And Tilsit looks like he's here. Tilsit and Ryan Moore kicking on. Calusi's not finding much at all. And Oberon. He's lost an iron. He's lost an iron on the leader, but he's got it back. What's Ryan Moore? You are a genius. How did you do that?
Did he hang into him, didn't he?
He stuck it back in. That was extraordinary. Wow.
I'll tell you what, guys, we're going to have to dissect a lot there. If you're watching this here or listening to us on
There'll be
RP
stewards
Live,
here, I imagine, will there?
just the 5 runners, but there's so much to take out of that race. Congratulations if you took on Calusi and you went with Tilsit. Ben Curtis, a couple of weeks ago here at the Racing Post, was telling us exactly what they thought of this horse. He's bred to go on turf. Ryan Moore has absolutely ridden Jim Crowley silly there.
What happened in
Let's
the final
watch.
furlong?
He goes clear. My Oberon is on the rail trying to get back. There's a sandwich, is Calusi. He just hangs all over the place.
He's just come right across him, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's come right across him. I thought his iron came out momentarily. That was extraordinary.
He does get back on top. My Oberon he's just found this.
It's a length and 3/4, so they can't sling him out, can they? But I mean, is it
will be
dangerous riding? I mean,
let's have a look.
So
what?
The market hasn't reopened yet.
Ryan's got his stick in, I think, the right hand. Yes, he has. So, you know what? He does point him that way.
No, he doesn't.
He's just looking in, isn't he?
My goodness.
I tell you what, guys, watch how he does his reins. He definitely goes towards the rail.
Yeah, but he's got his whip in his right hand, which is the correct hand in terms of that.
Yes, of course he has.
But he's almost had Tom Marquand through the fence.
The way he pulls the rein here, he's going for the fence, guys, I'm telling you. Now, before we get to Calusi and talk about Jim Crowley on that, it's not going to be a good run through that for Jim, I don't think. If he likes shouting at horses, he's screaming at this point. Yeah, he's made a bit of a meal of it, Jim Crowley, but Tom Marquand has had to really snatch up. Has it cost him? No, it hasn't. My Oberon is a horse that's going to relish getting a lead again and a much stronger, stiffer mile. But
what happened in that with that incident, Neil? What happened to the market? Because presumably Tilsit was priced up like he was just going to go on and win. Was there a kind of big spike?
Yeah, there was, and then he came back out again. It's hard to see exactly what price he went back out to, but there was, because he did go really short. And then he sort of drifted back out again, and then he came back in again.
Guys here, Ryan, look, he's pointing towards the rail.
What do you mean pointing?
He's pointing his head towards the rail. So the horse's head is not straight, but Ryan is giving him that sort of. He's got the balance. Ryan's definitely gone towards the rail. There's no doubt in that.
Yeah, but no, he can't have done because
the horse is hanging down it, right?
The
he's
horse
not
is
hanging down.
He's
on the
got his
camber.
whip in the right hand, which suggests he's trying to get him away.
But I think with his, you watch his rein hand here. We're seeing our pictures on the screen. Ryan has definitely 100% allowed him to run down. So I'm not suggesting at all for any moment that he's trying to put Tom Marquand out of the race. But Tom has done extremely well to sit. My Oberon has got his balance back really well. We've learnt that about him. Seriously high
keep
drama.
the race, but a ban for more, maybe?
Definitely a ban for more. It's going to be a ban for more.
The market's back open. Tilsit 1.4, 1.3 to keep it.
He's 3's on to keep it, so my Oberon might get this.
Yeah.
That's buying money, isn't it?
My Oberon might get this. 1.22 Tilsit and 6 my Oberon. Wow.
We've got our first stewards betting here on RP Live. It's a momentous moment. I think it's an absolute certainty to keep this, but because he's just won by so far. But the manoeuvre, I'm telling you, Ryan will get scolded for this.
Yeah, especially after the Rab Havlin stuff that was.
Rab Havlin had an incident at Yarmouth about 10 days ago.
So he's been called the winner, Tilsit, but it is a steward's inquiry that we're looking at.
Let's talk about Calusi for a minute, guys. Keen early. absolutely on the bridle. 2 furlongs. We're going to see something special.
1.22. Five's Arnie here.
My initial reaction, and perhaps with the tips to hat on, perhaps a little bit pocket talky, is that I think he caught Jim out. He definitely caught Jim Crowley out. And Jim has had to go from cruising to all of a sudden pressing the button. The horse hasn't enjoyed it. He's then kind of just accepted the situation. And then when the incidents happen, Calusi's coming back a little bit. I don't know. This is madness.
I think if you're, in terms of Calusi, regardless of what happened in front, that's disappointing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why
Ultimately.
they didn't run in the Sussex.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't know.
And I think also as well, like
we come
regardless
off a big field handicap, guys, to a small 4-runner field.
Yeah,
if you watch him when he won his maiden or his novice at Wolverhampton, that he rode him into that bend. Yeah. This has been a sit job, and he had a lead for as long as he wanted it.
I guess though the company that Calusi is going to keep now, the races he's going to contest are going to be more of this nature than handicap nature in terms of like the makeup of the races.
We now know why he hung across the track at Ascot? If I was analysing this, I'd be calling up one of my colleagues and saying, "Do you think this is a horse that basically can't go to the front too soon? Does he need to be?" Because Jim's got there and he's not moved a muscle, has he?
Well,
he's not gone, right, I'm going to win the race.
The other way of looking at it, okay, is that he's run every bit as well, or maybe up to his Ascot form, but the other two are absolute
really
mustard.
Well, I think that's the thing with Tilsit. Like, regardless of what happened there at the end, and it was ugly, whatever, it's a really good performance from Tilsit.
It was. I mean, he's an exciting horse.
Yeah. So what do we now say? So we've almost got a Calusi situation with him going up in grade. Why is he drinking? What's he running down? Is it Goodwood that's calling him out? We're not going to get a word from Ryan, are we? Let's face it.
No, that's true. That is true. But
we're not going to get the debrief there.
It'll be interesting to see if he does write anything in his Betfair column the next time he runs there or something like that, because he does flag up in his column here that he was really looking forward to riding him at Newmarket.
The multiples have gone down. The multiples have gone down. Were you all over Calusi?
Has the charity bet gone down?
Let us know.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, the charity bet was Tilsit without Calusi. So.
Ooh. Okay, well, there we are. So
10's on now, Dave.
Yeah, 1 to 3 was just far too big. I think 3's on, wasn't it? But my goodness gracious me, high drama. Keep your social comments coming in. Let us know what you think. Are we talking absolute buffoonery here, or are we on the money? I think
the one thing this will lead to is probably more of a delay for the next race as well. While they thrash this out.
Yes, it will.
Dave, answer me this as one of the Racing Post's top analysts that you are. If Tilsit hasn't come across my Oberon, what do you think? What would the outcome have been? Roughly the same,
he
or
wins a length.
A little closer.
No, I think he wins a length. But are they on a different track? I might still go for my Oberon over Tilsit. I don't think my Oberon really wanted to lead there. I think that he's a horse that, if you go back to York, Tom was always up there on him, but he looked like a horse that was just, he loved that lead. And I'm sure in the work they give him a lead and then he push a button and go. He's a horse that I said about in his analysis, if you go back and read the analysis, I said there seems no point in going beyond a mile for now. You get sucked into some of these Christopher C horses and the Cedar Holdings or whatever they're called, and you think that they're all going to be stayers, Cedar Stars for example. But he looks like he's sort of mostly a mile. He wants a stiff mile, no doubt in that. And if they met at Ascot, for example, on the round course, I'd be going for my Oberon.
I think it's very interesting now. I think all three of those horses are going to be fascinating to watch in the coming months.
We hoped for a barnstormer. We kind of got it, didn't we? It wasn't quite Stradivarius-like, but it was certainly up there. Calusi, burnt fingers then for a lot of people. And Tilsit, Ben Curtis, we had the word from him on the Racing Post. I love this horse. You can see why. They've definitely got their one now. I think all three are very, very talented. My Oberon, definitely the most straightforward out of them, though.
Yeah, I think that's right. But, Tilsit was only in the third run of his career. He raced on that lovely, flat, even, wide,
all-weather both two starts.
In his last two starts. And then all of a sudden he's come to the weirdness that is Goodwood on the downs in 34 degree heat, downhill.
The one thing I will say there, up until the final furlong, Ryan Moore was absolutely brilliant. Because we all thought, I said pre-race, didn't I, if you're Calusi and your Jim Crowley, and they definitely thought this, I'm going to be able to get a lovely sit here in between two that are going to try and make this more of a test than I want it. Ryan Moore has he's really done his homework.
But they did start racing a long way out. From 3 to 2, the race suddenly ignited.
The fact that he sat in third position, I think, was tactically genius from Moore. And then when he went, he just saw Jim and he thought, I've got to finish in me. I love that when a jockey goes.
So tell me what he was doing when he crossed over the fence. You're saying he's driven him
He
across
probably
to the fence.
feels him going, and I think he thinks I can get this rail, straighten him up and go.
And in a sense, if he can just mildly pinch back the other one, they do, don't they?
We
I
had
mean,
Stevie
that's what they
Donohoe
do.
in the studio yesterday, and we were talking about a horse called Mayfair Spirit, who he rides tomorrow on RP Live on one of our races at Newmarket. And I was saying, when you won at Windsor, he beat a really, really well-backed horse. I said, I was on that. I don't think he stayed. And he goes, I gave him a nudge, and it definitely put yours off. So, look, of course they do it, and it's race riding, isn't it?
But I guess, what the outcome was far more dramatic than Moore would have possibly imagined.
And he's definitely in for a holiday there. I'd be amazed. I mean, don't get me wrong, he might well get it off on a pill if Rory McNeese is by his side. But because that
would likely be York week, maybe. Will he miss?
Oh,
That's in a couple
love!
of weeks,
Oh
isn't
my
it?
goodness gracious me! Yes, indeed.
This is still on a live market, by the way. 1.1 for Tilsit and 8 my
Interesting.
Oberon.
That since it reopened, there's probably been close to £300,000 that have been bet into this Stewards Inquiry market.
Would a lot of that be insurance?
Yeah, probably.
For Tilsit backers.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to be insurance on my Oberon, is it? Because he's a bigger price than what he.
All televised stewards, of course.
Than what his SP is.
Yeah, and Moore is an absolute wizard in the stewards' room.
I think that's the.
What, did he
absolutely.
suddenly come alive and start dancing around and give it all the old...
Start juggling, yeah,
quoting
right.
Shakespeare.
I tell you, there was one very famous televised stewards where Oisin Murphy hadn't really got to the level he's at now. And
Wasn't
Ryan,
it the race we were looking at it? No, was it not Shamey Heffernan with Bondi Beach and Secret Jester?
that
Wasn't it
was
St.
another one
Ledger?
with Oisin. There was one where Ryan Moore basically... He almost said, get in line to Oisin. It was a
said
there was
something
a
about
seniority.
Will he do the same with Tom
Did he not
Marquand
say something
here?
about him being too inexperienced or something like that? He uttered a
That's
phrase
it.
like that, didn't he?
Rob Lee, in my era, said, I know the horse, as in the one that Oisin was riding. He said, he's just not strong enough.
No,
that's what he
That
said.
was it, yeah.
And Oisin just... and of course it went Ryan's way. Yeah. Listen, he may look like a quietie, but let me tell you, you can probably go in the weighing room. He's as strong as an ox in the jockey room, that's for sure. So, listen, fascinating scenes. We'll be getting a debrief of that. Of course, look in your members section in the Racing Post tomorrow. You're going to get all these quotes. You're going to be able to find out exactly what connections thought happened there. I bet it's got a bit spicy in the winners' enclosure, isn't it? Do you think it would have done?
Yeah, I
would
would
with
say
connections.
so, yeah.
We're talking about some powerhouse operations there. It probably has done, hasn't it?
Yeah, but I think the thing to remember here, these are two really good horses. Like, there's going to be other days for them. And I think, what you can't forget here is actually, the race itself. Tilsit was really, really good. And my Oberon has run really well as well.
I agree. I think they're 3 good horses.
We'll keep an eye on exactly what's going on. We're going to have a slight delay here, but listen, we can wax lyrical. We know you can too. Where are your social comments? Get them in Facebook Live or indeed on YouTube as well, Twitter, whatever you're on. Let us know. Hashtag RP Live. Penultimate day of glorious Goodwood. Scorching out there, isn't it? I see what a nice aircon in here, isn't it?
Is it ever?
I
popped out just before we came on air, and it's absolutely outrageous.
Maldives, one of the boys in the studio said. So, yeah, absolutely. Staycations, it looks like that's the way, doesn't it? So, I guess if you're out there and you're actually on a staycation at the moment, happy days. Got mates going to Cornwall tomorrow. That'll be absolutely blinding down there, like Costa del Cornwall. So, look, we're having fun. That's what it's all about here. We will, of course, when it needed, get our analytical hats on. But we've had 2 races, guys, and we've had some pretty exciting finishes. One Master just got out of their gap, got it there on the line. Calusi, my goodness me, Tilsit into my Oberon. And now we come up to one of the roughest handicaps of the entire flat season. It's the Golden Mile, due off at 2:45. What time do you think it will go off at? Let us know that on your social comments. And we've got a horse that's being really, really well backed, Neil Hubbard.
Yeah, Prompting, chasing the hat-trick for David O'Mara is your market leader at 4.1, which is around 3-1 in fractional terms. Sabuska, 7.2, Vale of Kent, 7.2. Wide open market here, really, but Prompting has just hardened at the top of the market because of Motatham being a non-runner.
We'll get to him. Let's get to your selection first, though, Neil.
I'm going to back 2 in this, given the nature of the race, and I think we've already alluded to one of them, but it's Bless Him at 20, but also Al Mufti at 23, and I'm going to back both win and place here. So
tell me why. Tell me sweet little why.
So I think, with Bless Him, a lot of chatter with Bless Him is his best form comes on straight tracks, and you can certainly see that. But of more importance to me is him having really, really quick ground, and he gets that here. And so he was a non-runner earlier in the week while they waited presumably for quicker ground, looking at the weather forecast. He gets that here. Al Mufti ran a cracker behind Sabuska at Royal Ascot. He gets £11, I think it is, pull with him. He didn't run too well last time, but that was on softer ground.
Where's he drawn, Neil?
Yeah, drawn low in 1, where 1 master comes from. So you need to be low here.
Yeah, well, you do. Just to quickly touch on that, in the last 10 years, stall 1's won it twice, but in the last 4 years, you've either needed to be stall 1 or stall 3, basically. Stall 3's going for a full-timer in the race, actually. Bruce, you like Bless Him as well, don't you?
I do. I just think, look, I really like the favourite. I mean, the favourite ticks a zillion boxes, and I wouldn't put anybody off prompting at all. But I just thought at a slightly more exotic price, Bless Him, as Neil says, David Simcox pulled him out not just earlier this week, but I think Royal Ascot he came out as well, didn't he?
He was meant to be in the Queen Anne.
Yeah, exactly. So and he was fancied by a couple of people for that as well.
Yes.
So his best form puts him bang in this.
That's
this
the feat of Lord North at Ascot.
He gave him £4 and a beating to Lord North.
Yeah, now,
so
I mean, on a repeat of that, the trouble is he's probably not quite running against the same Lord North that we know now. But it's still, but it's still really, really respectable form. And at what price is he? 20? Did you say?
20. Yeah.
That is an attractive price.
I don't need a lot of negatives to be backing a 20.
Where will you will you be backing him in the place market as well then to try and get some insurance for your win?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Because I think when you back something at that bigger price, if you just get beat and you don't get anything, that's a sin, isn't it? That's a real sin. So I like that, and I also like another one at a really massive price. I wonder if you laid every horse out or listed every horse ever trained alphabetically, how many horses would be below Zwayan, ZW? I think there was one that was ZY once, but it could be the last...
If you're on a countback, if Zwayan was on a countback for jockeys, he'd be like...
It could be the last
lose
one.
Every photo, wouldn't he?
Exactly. And he's like the
market's suspended. In the Tilsit race. I don't know.
Shall we get to that? All right, we'll hear in the gallery. I'm sure they'll tell us exactly what's going on. Probably placings unaltered, probably. But this is Tom Mark 1, another young jockey against Ryan Moore.
Just to make the case for Zwayan.
Yeah, go on.
He's the opposite to a sexy progressive horse. He's 7. He's been around the block, but he is really consistent. And you'll still, even though we've had defectors here, you can still find 4 places. It's not difficult. And I just think he's the kind of horse that could sneak into 4th, 3rd, 4th at a really nice big price. Let's see what he is for 4 places on the exchange. He's 9.6, so he's 9 to 1. I don't see any problem chucking a few quid. He's got D'Souza, who's fantastic here.
If you are going for something that's drawn wide, I mean, let's remind ourselves of Montatham, the very progressive anti-post favourite for this, drawn 15 of 15, was pulled out. We think that might be on account of the ground, although that's slightly pushing it, I think. I think we'll probably find some sort of self-certificate or something. I always found that hilarious, self-certificate. How does a horse give itself a self-certificate? It's not, I need to, have you got a pen? But
Dave, those draw numbers that you were quoting before, that's obviously all based on 2019 runner
it is.
fields, and now we've only got 14.
We've got to reduce because of safety limits. We've got 15 runners. So I was talking to someone about Montatham, and I said, well, if you are on anti-post, it could be worse. Not a lot, but it could be worse. But Zwayan is 12 of 14 now, so
not fussed.
You're not fussed.
Not fussed.
He was a bit of an eye catcher behind
because if they all break, if the wide runners break early and get across, that actually compounds the problem for the low drawn runners that aren't up there. Take One Master. Everyone says One Master's brilliantly drawn. Well, if you freeze that 3 out and say how brilliantly is she drawn now, the answer's not very.
So I'll tell you what's remarkable about this race as well. Ryan Moore does not have a ride.
I know. I was just going to look at that. I was thinking he'd want to elongate that Stewards Inquiry. Marquand will be wanting to get out there and get riding.
Yeah, how long have you got? Pour the coffee. But Ryan's got a fantastic record in this.
Result stands for Tilsit.
Result does stand, I should say. The guys did tell me in the studio before I got poured into this. If you remember Franklin D. in 2016 for Michael Bell, drawn 1. Ryan Moore just gave a great run. Master of the World in 2017. Seniority in 2000. He basically looked like he couldn't lose this race.
I think if you're drawn low and you go forward,
then that's fine.
That's perfect. So you like Surveyor Kent, who's in 3, who you would expect to go forward. That's great.
Why has Mark Johnson not picked him up, for example? I don't know. I don't know, or Hannons or something like that. It's weird, isn't it, that Ryan Moore's not got a ride in this? Could it be the value of the race is down? I don't know. I mean, it maybe doesn't fancy the pot. It's a really rough race. That's kind of what I was going to get to with Ryan Moore. Obviously, we've
he hasn't got a ride
on Tilsit, but
he hasn't got a ride in the Batash.
if you are
race.
drawn low, you need a strong jockey. David O'Mara, who's got prompting in this.
No, that's it. Ryan Moore's next ride at Goodwood is in the last.
Okay, for whatever reason that might be.
Yeah.
I guess O'Brien's light on runners today. But again, we're talking about what they call the world's best jockey, whether you agree with that or not. David O'Mara's had some decent horses beaten in this race. Let's concentrate on prompting a little bit. Drawn 2, perfect draw. You watch back his videos on the replays. Bruce, the one at Ayr was just, he absolutely slammed him. The form's worked out. And last time, he looked like a horse that was way ahead of his mark. The handicapper would give him another £6 on top of what he's got. Harry Bentley, I looked at his record for David O'Mara. I think he's got £25 profit to a level stake. So, because I thought, obviously it's the lightweight, other Danny Tudhope would be on it. He's had some good horses beating this. Escobar was beaten in this from a good draw. Where are they going to put prompting in the run, do you think? Are they going to try and take their medicine, or is he a horse that likes to sit up there and maybe stalk and wait for the gap and go?
I think it kind of depends how confident they are about his chance, doesn't it? Do they want to burn unnecessary petrol to get him into a great position as they start rounding the bend? I honestly don't know, is the honest answer to that.
Yeah, there should be a decent pace to aim at here. I've gone for an old friend, loads of old friends in this race, aren't there? Card Sharp. Slightly worried about the extra furlong backcoming trip for him, but 7 furlongs at Ascot last weekend, an easy mark. I think he should be getting it as he gets to 5. Will Buick's on. He's in stall 5, which is good. He's never finished out the places.
You surely need to put up. You need to put up an insurance bet, a keep bet there at a shorter price, because he could just melt in the final.
Absolutely. But I'm pretty sure he'll be there, bang a furlong. He will pop up in one of these. They've got Vale of Kent, of course, as well in this, in the same colours for Mark Johnson. He was just touched off in the race last year. I thought a mark of 108 though for him. It is about right. Before we go and have another look at the market and find out where you're going out there, let's see what our Irish correspondent David Jennings fancies.
Yeah, the closer the Golden Mile gets, the sweeter I actually am on the top weight Urban Icon. Richard Hannum won this race last year with Beat Le Bon. A similar type of horse who had a touch of class, was rated 104. Urban Icon is rated 109, but fully deserves to be rated 109. And when I look through this field, I just think Urban Icon is the one class act in the race. In the Summer Mile last time, he was 5th to Mohatter. He was in front of Furlong Out. Now, Mohatter was very impressive, but still, he looked like he was going to be a real big player coming into the final furlong. I think this easier mile at Goodwood will play to his strengths. He's got a touch of class. He's got a turn of foot. I would say this race has been in Richard Hannon's mind for quite some time, given he won it last year with Beat Le Bon. And at probably 14 or 16 to 1, you might get an even bigger price on the Betfair Exchange. I think Urban Icon has got a massive, massive chance.
Massive chance for the top weight then. Hannons indeed do have a great record in the race. Cheers, DJ, for that. Urban Icon, does he want slightly softer ground? That was my thing with him, and I wondered whether could he possibly give the weight to prompting. I was thinking, I wasn't so sure. So not with Dave there myself. But what about some of the others? Vale of Kent, we briefly mentioned, really solid in the market, just touched up in it last year. He's always there or thereabouts, isn't he?
I mean, Vale of Kent, this is his 7th run since resumption, and bear in mind that's in 2 months. I mean,
even by Mark's standards,
by Braveheart standards, this horse is busy, but he's consistent and he's tough, and most of all, he's got a great record at Goodwood.
Shall I give you his form figures?
Yeah.
He's run 5 times, 3, 2, 1, 4, 2. It's bang there and in this race as well. So why didn't I put him on top of Card Sharp? I'll be back in the pair. It's because I think that Vale of Kent, I just think if there's something progressive comes at him, he will get done. But it's a great each way bet.
Interesting though, he was second in this last year from stall 17.
Oh yeah, do you remember?
Yeah, but you can get.
Yeah, you can. Who did him? Of course, it was Beat Le Bon, wasn't it?
Who went up the inside.
Pat Dobbs, of course, who rides Urban Icon, DJ selection as well. Loads of others in him. Willie John. Let's get to this. His chap has come down. How much did they pay for this bloke?
Zillions. I think it was literally.
It was one. Well, how much was it?
It was
something
astonishing.
ridiculous.
It was astonishing because he absolutely waltzed home. I think at Doncaster one day, didn't he? And they spent literally millions on it.
It was Yarmouth.
Was it Yarmouth?
It was Yarmouth. He beat a horse called Humboldt Current under Gerard Mosse for William Haggis. And Haggis was gutted to lose this. They thought he was a Guineas horse. He had all sorts of problems. He didn't come out the following year till August. Hosed up. He then ran against Gayeth at Longchamp. absolutely. And the wheels have basically come off since
Ran
then.
behind Elikam.
He's got form behind Elikam, Adabe. They think he needs fast ground. He's been gelded since he ran a terrible race in the Hunt Cup, and he has been gambled, Neil Hubbard.
Yeah, he is 11.5, so around the 10-1 mark.
So many questions marks, though, Bruce, aren't there, about this chap?
Oh, massively, yeah. I mean, if he wins, there's going to be the odd person who says, I used to follow that horse, blah, blah, blah. But I can afford to let him go. If he wins, he's had all the excuses.
Another one a bit like Vayler Kent, whose form figures are wonderfully consistent in these type of big field handicap, is Cliffs of Capri.
You had to be saying Cliffs of Capri next, didn't you, Neil?
Yeah, for Jamie Osborne. He ran on Racing Post ratings, the best race of his career last weekend.
Yes, he
at
did.
Royal Ascot. At Ascot. Sorry,
At
not Royal
Ascot,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah.
He was placed at Royal Ascot this year.
That was behind Blue Mist, of course, in the big handicap at the weekend. And he was an eye-catcher there. Talking about having lots of runs this season, how many has he had? Jamie Osborne, literally, he must have really peed him off somewhere on the line because he's out for exercise all the time, isn't it? It's like Cloughie, isn't it? He used to get like his least favourite players to run up the stands all the time. He's having his 6th run of the season. And he's probably been to Maidan, hasn't he, as well?
He won at Maidan. He won
at Maidan. Gosh, there he goes. He also doesn't win very often, but from stall 4, he's got to be going there. We've got a social comment coming on the screen, very timely. Let's have a look who joins us. Dylan233, Al Mufti for me. Glad you've gone there, Dylan, because my first pick in this was going to be Al Mufti.
Yeah, he's one of the ones
he's one of yours,
who Neil likes.
Yeah.
And I did the race last time at Newmarket. He came there cruising. He got really warm before and sweated out, head going all over the place. He's always now 0 from 7 or something on turf, isn't he? That's what I wrote, something like that. With my new pal on, David Egan. But if you go back to the Sabuska run at Ascot, Sabuska's in this race, of course. Does he want more juice underfoot? But the run at Newmarket last time was awful.
It was actually the same day that
0 from 7 on turf.
Actually, the same day Maidani
disappointed. Yeah, was it that race? It might have been that race.
Was it that race?
Let me have a look. I'll get this up. You're right. Maidani absolutely hosed up earlier in the week, having completely flopped. And it was indeed the Maidani race. You could argue the form's absolutely mustard.
Yeah.
I know you normally get bigger fields for this, but it's a decent race.
It's
really
good.
intriguing, isn't it? It's a difficult race. This is Wayan. He's out to 120. I've got to just have a 75.
What's stopping us all from absolutely, kitchen sinking prompting then? The price? With all your favourites in there.
No, he's just massively up in grade as well, though, isn't he?
Well, this will be, next week, Neil, he'd be up in the weights, you see, for this race.
I know.
Of course, he started off with Ollie Murphy, didn't he? Which is quite an interesting move. David O'Mara is just one of the best.
Is actually a link back to One Master, because he's a half-brother to One Master.
Right. Yeah.
There you go.
I think there's another sibling on the card, isn't there? Running later on. Yeah, there is. I think there's...
I saw
3
One
horses
Master
out the same dam.
It's a family affair.
All running on the same card. I can't remember who it is.
Yeah, okay. So there are others that we haven't mentioned. Baltic Baron, you wanted to mention that, Neil?
I really liked him. He was 5th in this last year, off a mark of 97, and he runs here off 94. He was 5th in the Hunt Cup, and then he didn't run very well up at York in the John Smith's Cup, but he pulled really hard that day up in trip, and it didn't really work out. But he's got blinkers on for the first time here, and is £3 lower than when he was on the premises of this last year. So he is drawn wide, which is a little bit off-putting, but he's a huge price on the exchange. I think he's in that sort of, well, not quite as big as I am, but he's 42s on the exchange. You couldn't put anyone off throwing a couple of quid at that.
We should find out whether Paul Keeley's back this, because he puts him up a lot, Baltic Baron.
Does he?
I've done loads of shows with him as well.
Who's he tipped in this race?
Good shout.
I think he tipped Blessing.
Did he not?
Oh, he would have gone for Blessing. That's another one.
I thought he tipped Blessing in the Queen Anne.
He did, yeah. He loves Blessing.
He goes after these horses, doesn't he? Dark Vision being the pivotal one.
Tom Siegel's tipped Vale of Kent and Prompting.
Yeah.
And Keel's has gone Vale of Kent and Blessing.
Yeah, okay. So, Vale of Kent is your absolute beautiful each way horse, isn't he?
It's actually been Bless Him and Al Mufti, the two that I suggested, have actually sort of flip-flopped in the market. Bless Him is actually out to 28 now on the exchange, but Al Mufti has gone from 25s into 19, so a bit of support for him at the price.
Well, could he break his duck on turf then in this really still quite a valuable handicap? Not what it usually is. It's usually sizzling value.
Prompting a little bit weak, out to 7-2 now, 4.5.
See, that's about right, I think, for me. I think it is. This could be some call, Bruce, This could be some exciting
nearly
stuff
ready, actually, aren't they? Last few going in.
Getting there, are we?
Yeah, there's a few more going in. So last chances to put your bet on for the 2020 Golden Mile at Glorious Goodwood. Will it be another low draw coming on top? Will it all be thrown up into the air with a smaller field? And one in the outside stall does it. Good luck wherever you're going. Over to Bruce.
1 mile the trip and 14 runners, and it looks a reasonably level break on the wide outside, blown by wind, wasn't too quick away. They're all fanning across, as you would expect. Prompting his line about 5th.
Bless him, anchored out the back.
Position for him, isn't it?
And who's this they've sent on? Is it the old Vale of Kent himself, is it? I think they've pushed him.
4-1 in running now, Vale of Kent.
Zwayan's got a lovely position there.
Yeah, he's up
beautiful.
there along with Baltic Baron, who's come across from a wide draw. Also prominent is, that's not Zwayan, is it? That's Fox
Prompting
Premier.
on the
okay,
inside.
so
Prompting.
Fox Premier. Prompting's shortened now, I should imagine, Neil.
Yeah, Prompting, he's still favourite 3.8, yeah, so a little bit shorter. But Vale of Kent is the one who's coming for a lot of money.
Happy
But
with card
Prompting's
shots
got,
positions, guys.
yeah,
Very
Prompting's
happy
got a
with
lovely position there,
Yeah,
though, in like
Prompting
third.
is really in gorgeous state now as they freewheel down the hill. I shouldn't have used that. I hate that expression. I always say
They
that.
are
Anyway,
freewheeling.
Vale of Kent is in front. In second, it's Fox Premier. The favourite, Prompting, is poised on the inside. In third, on the outside, is the 13 horse who's Baltic Baron. In behind, being scrubbed along, is Card Sharp. I don't think that's going to win. Making ground on the outside with the blue cap is blown by wind, but with a long, long way to go. Willie John's going okay.
Zwayan's
Willie John's
coming.
going okay. The favourite is still
Bless
in
him's
decent
cruising.
form.
Bless
Is it
him's cruising,
Swayan?
but needs
That's
up.
Baltic Baron, isn't it?
Al
Yeah.
Mufti up the rail. Al Mufti up the
Yeah.
rail
Oh,
if he gets
loads
a
of
break.
I
tightness.
think the favourite's got the run now. It's a question of whether he's
2
good
to
enough.
1,
And here
Willie
comes
John.
Hamden. It's a fact. And Willie
Card Sharp
John. And Prompting grabs the rail. Prompting goes on from Willie
Affak,
John
Urban
and
Icon,
Affak. And here's
finishing.
Prompting really, really flying his Urban Icon.
You're not
But the
gonna catch
favourite
this, no.
obliges. Excuse me.
The voice is gone.
Prompting
the
beats
voice
is gone.
the bottom one beats the top one, and sorry about that. I got a frog jump down my throat at a crucial moment. But if you back Prompting, you don't mind that. That was a very, very authoritative win. 3-1 favourite. The bottom one, 15, beats the top one, Urban Icon. That was pretty easy going, wasn't it?
Pretty easy, and I think, like we've been talking about earlier in the week, where races are won or lost, he sort of won that at the start because he got a lovely position in second or third there. Although he did hit a high of 13 in running.
There was a moment, wasn't there, when he looked like he might be in a little bit of Barney
He
rubble.
he sort of got scrubbed along a little bit just to hold his position, maybe. But
There was a lot of problems in behind, guys. I was looking for Card Sharp personally, who did get mullered, but you're right, Bruce. He was outpaced at some point, but there were lots of trouble in running. Where were you? Were you on one of them? Sabuska got no run whatsoever. Just looking for the runner-up through the early stages. We can see on
He's
our.
right out the back.
He's
isn't he?
right
Two
out the
behind
back.
him.
Pat Dobbs, who won the race last year for Richard Hannon, he got a dream split, I seem to remember. Not quite this time. The bird had flown, but conceding 9-10 to a horse that's carrying, what's he on, Prompting? 8-4, not a chance. Tip your hat to Harry Bentley here, guys. He's just kept it really simple, hasn't he? And he as the trouble was happening all behind him, it was a case of if the horse is good enough, they're just not going to catch him. And they're running bareback, as Stevie Donoghue said yesterday. So there's loads to talk about.
We did have a horse go odds on at 1.74 and not win.
A fact.
Any guess it? No.
Willie, yeah.
Willie
Willie
John,
John.
1.74 and beat.
He
So that's another one.
continues to frustrate slightly, doesn't he, Willie John? Were you on?
Look
Dan
at-
Walsh in the studio.
Look at
fancied him.
Urban Icon there. He's still only got 4 behind him and an absolute wall
Look
in
at
front of
Sabuska
him.
as well. Bless him,
He's
trying to get
really
into
run
it.
well.
Al Mufti not off the bridle yet. Actually, Pat Dobbs has got quite lucky on Urban Icon. The gaps have come. He's cruising.
He's unlucky
at this
here.
point.
He's been stopped.
But
He's
if
been
you-
absolutely
again,
stopped.
You look at a couple of the other. Yeah, you're right. He just has to switch a couple, doesn't he? He was last off the bridle. Pretty
Bless
much.
him's trying to follow him through.
Oh,
really. He's trying
Sabuska's got no run at all on the inside. Oisin Murphy cursing his ride there. He's just
On
letting
that
go slow.
concertinas, actually, when Urban Icon goes there past Chris Clapper, who sort of hangs in a little bit there as well. It's a classic sort of Goodwood
It is.
traffic domino effect there.
It goes
isn't
back to
When-
what you were saying, Bruce, for the horses on the outside. When one does come across, if you're in fourth and you're waiting on a run, yeah, you can speak. The jockey mic there would be bleeping, bleeping, bleeping. That's for sure.
I'll tell you what would be interesting as well, if you could track the path that Urban Icon's taken there, because he's had to go out wide.
track us.
But watch as he comes across. Do you remember when we talked about the old Dad's Army opening tune with the arrows? Watch Urban Icon now. He dives inside to go for a gap
As a
there.
result.
And he's
That bumps
covered-
onto Cliffs of Capri, who goes on to
That's it.
Vale of Kent.
Affak's run an absolute blinder, isn't he? Looked like he might have gone a little bit of the game, but they've chucked first time blinkers on Charlie Hills, who won with Tilsit, our Group 3 previous. That's stall 11, so they'll be look out for Affak at the Ebor meeting. He's one to take out of this. He's had to do a lot of the hard work as well. I'm to Vale of Kent, just too
petered
much
out.
too
He
soon.
did get a little bit hampered later on. I think something came across him. Blessim's run really well, you know.
Yeah,
Blessim's run a really good race.
He's tried to follow Urban Icon,
he's
but
had
he's
a
a
bit
bit
of
too
trouble
far
as
back.
well, yeah.
As much as we love Tom Marquand, there's a reason why Jamie Spencer has been so good on Blessim over the years.
Yeah, look, there's just a bit of a coming together with Vela Ken. I think Braveheart needs to run him more often. I think he needed the run, didn't he?
He'll have red pen
He'll have a
around
good
his run,
blow
won't he,
later.
by
He needed the
Braveheart?
run, yeah.
One more run, please. What about Cliffs of Capri, Neil?
Yeah,
also
running
we thought
on.
would go well.
Yeah, he was running on. I think he maybe finished fifth, so you want to check your each way terms. With some
And he's
got the
another one,
timing,
Neil,
guys.
isn't he, who's ended up on the inside rail. And yet when we see him here,
He's
he's
about
got 8
4 or
horses
5.
inside.
It's
Yeah,
the best
exactly,
comparative time of the day, chaps. It's just slow by under a second, 0.71. So we're quickening up all the time on that home straight for sure.
Prompting's going places, isn't he?
He looks it, doesn't he? He's now 3 from 3 on turf since joining O'Mara. What are we going to do? Is this an Escobar? Is this the horse that can get up and maybe run in some of those Group 3s in Ireland?
Bridge the gap between the handicaps.
He's got loads
Well,
of
he's
Irish
bred to be
owners
good,
as well,
isn't he? As we
he?
touched
He
on,
is,
he's
yeah.
bred not to be running in at this sort of level. So he's definitely going into listed and group
Let's
class and
find
beyond.
the family affair then. So we've
Sorry,
had
I
one
did have a
master.
look, and I think I ballsed that up. I'm not sure. I
Let's have a
did
look.
have a discreet look, so I could sound all clever. Hang on a sec. Pedigree.
Yeah, I can't-
So the dam is enticing.
Yeah.
And she has thrown one. She's got one master prompting triple chocolate.
Yeah,
who was
that's a
trained by
10-year-old
Roger
now.
Ingram, Jacob's Pillow, and
Moon
Moon
Eyes.
Eyes. So I got that wrong.
Yeah, all right. So so it's the one master. Enticing, I remember the dam was very, very good for William Haggis. So he's got a nice bit of scope about him. He got lathered up beforehand as well, didn't he? And that's when maybe I thought, is this one run too soon? But nice plotting again from David O'Mara. Not the purse it usually is. 31,000 though, not to be sniffed at in these coronavirus times.
And that's another thing, the prize money. But that is again what we're saying, David, about the good draw. Because Harry's just popped him out, and once you do that, that becomes a great draw.
Yeah.
I just think if you miss it slightly, or you have to use up too much gas to get to where he was, it can become your enemy. But in that sense, it was.
That's the thing with Blessim. Like Blessim and Paper had a really good draw in 6, but he's going to be held up right out the back. So if he was,
it's a
if
waste.
he
It's
was
a
drawn
waste of a good
15,
draw.
yeah.
Yeah, which is interesting, and I think it just brings me back to Calusi a little bit as well. Why didn't Jim Crowley press the button when his seam came, like we just saw Harry Bentley do there? Come on, is it because Prompting's got more experience, just he's more hardened? I don't know. There's something about Calusi, isn't there? The hot pot that was defeated in our previous.
He could have run
race.
in this, I suppose, couldn't he? Calusi. He's only £2 higher than Urban Icon, I think.
Well,
What did Urban Icon run off? 109.
109.
Yeah,
correct.
Calusi's 111,
Yeah,
isn't he?
yeah,
So he
yeah,
could have.
yeah.
Could have run in there.
A rough race, loads of old favourites then in the Golden Mile.
Mind you, I
done
guess
and
they had
dusted.
Montatham, didn't they? Sorry.
They did have Montatham, of course, the anti-post favourite that was out as well. And having seen how well Afarka's run, that's given him a bit of compensation. We've got 2 more races to come for you today on Friday. We've got Batash coming up next. Let's ramp it up for this chap. 3's on. Most of you think it's buying money, not Bruce Millington, who is against what David Jennings this morning to you and me called the best sprinter he's ever laid eyes on.
And he also said anyone who opposed him is an idiot. So he's probably going to be right twice.
So he's not editor anymore, can't you?
Yeah, I know, exactly, yeah. It would have been slightly more deferential back
He'd have
in
been
the
at
day.
Tremor
They all tee
tomorrow,
off
yeah.
on me now.
He'd have been at Tremor instead of Galway tomorrow. Galway running in conjunction until Sunday as well. He's been enjoying bets over there. Happy days. Let us know how your week has been going. It's a week to celebrate racing, that's for sure. Saturday looks like it's going to be a sizzling day here on RP Live, but we've still got 2 more races to come. And 3:15 has been the race every day, guys, isn't it? The feature race, if you like, on the day. This isn't a Group 1, it's a Group 2. We've got a 3's on shot, but there are reasons for thinking we're either going to see Batash nearly smash the course record, win a 4th edition of this race, which is something to celebrate in itself. If Stradivarius can do it, nearly did it again. Tony Ennis, where are you when I need you? And of course, if Dance Lots are all going for this, we should really be celebrating this all, shouldn't we? I thought about something in between, downtime this morning. I thought if you were Charlie Hills and Hamdan Ahmed you could plot a perfect season for Batash. You'd just be like, well, is there any chance we can just get rid of the crowd? Or get them to be muted.
Absolutely. You're so right.
It's just better. This couldn't have gone any better for Batash,
No,
could
you're
it?
absolutely right. Would the hot weather be a factor, though? It probably won't. I mean, they're.
I'm trying to think what it was last year, because Dave just mentioned about breaking the course record. He actually set the course record in this race last year. So
He beat Hootson, didn't he?
And
the
yeah,
Australians?
and
I
yeah,
can't remember what the weather
arguably that
was
was
like
his
then.
least impressive win of the four.
It
wasn't
was just so easy. I mean, if you remember 2 or 3 years ago when he did it, that's when we all thought this is a non-thought certainty. The question, the classic
And he was.
after this race is, how do we go? How's he going to go at York? Now, if there are no crowds at York again, that mile walk that they do to the start, it's going to be absolutely brilliant. Charlie Hills is loving this lockdown.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
No,
Now,
so-
he probably wouldn't be quite so happy with the prize money, but
No.
you'd almost accept that, wouldn't you?
No, what are we on with? Again, go back to Stevie Donahue. Yesterday, he won that John Smith's Cup, didn't he? He goes, didn't even get a can of John Smith's. Happy days.
But look, you know, I mean, just on that, obviously times have been hard, but the show's back on the road, and that's the key
Yeah.
thing. And the good news that the BHA announced yesterday that the fixture list from September onwards does contain a prize money boost.
we were a bit worried about the start of the week, weren't they? But it looks like it's come good, doesn't it? So they're reaching into the coffers. Come on, lots to celebrate with lifting his status and lifting the moods. Let's have a look at the market and see if there are any angles. Are you going against Potash? Let us know. Social comments coming in, please, left, right, and centre. Neil Hubbard, that looks short.
Batash 1.3, which is 3-1 on. It is a short price, but you'd be hard pushed to say it's not. Like, you're hard pushed to say it's the wrong price. So yeah, he's very strong at the head of the market. Liberty Beach, who won the Molecombe on this cut
Yes.
at this meeting last year,
Yeah.
7.4.
Course and distance winner, the only other one in the race.
Yeah, Glass Slippers 24. Bigger prices everyone else. Alrea 40s, Ken Colt 55s, Dubai Station 55, and Ornate with his second run of the week in at 150. He was third in this last year though. Ornate.
Close third.
The speed ball that is Ornate wasn't so well away in the handicap, the 345 on the opening day. Before we go to Neil's, Bruce's, and myself selections, let's give you a stat pack to help out. There you go, some stats mostly concentrating on, of course, the great Batash. I can see what DJ's saying. I think when he's right, he is an absolute breath of fresh air, isn't he? But he's not, as you said to me this morning, a 1-1-1-1-1 horse. He's not Stradivarius,
He's
is he?
not. He's won 4 out of his last 10.
Yeah.
Now, admittedly, a lot of those were away from his optimum conditions. And if you were choosing one race course and one race and one set of circumstances with no crowd, it is this. This is Batash's wicket.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I say, he does have the odd blowout. He's won this last 3 years. I thought it was less impressive last year, but Jim Crowley apparently said that he was just trying to conserve his energy for the Nunthorpe. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
But how on earth is he 1-3 and Glass Slipper is 20? Glass Slippers is 23. Glass
That's
Slippers
mental.
slammed Batash in the Abbey last year. Yeah, the ground was soft, so I can excuse that. But Glass Slippers, that was the culmination of 3 really good progressive runs. Okay, this year Glass Slippers comes out, runs against Batash in the King's Stand and ran really well. Finished 5th. Was running on the strip of ground where most horses were struggling. Was only beaten 3 lengths. It was her first run of the season. I just think this is a mad price. I can't believe what I'm seeing.
I totally agree with you, Bruce. As much as I love Liberty Beach, I think she might pull her way into 3rd or 4th place here, and I think Glass Slippers might be the one for the silver medal spot, that's for sure. If there is going to be an upset, she's the one that can topple him as well. Would you agree, Neil?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually just interesting on Liberty Beach. It's worth bearing in mind here that she was 2nd behind, or 3rd behind Batash at Royal Ascot, and she gets a bit of a pull in the weights here because Batash has got to carry a penalty.
So does Glass Slippers as well. Sorry, that's yet another.
So he carries a £3 penalty, £5 penalty here. So Liberty Beach, there's grounds, considering she's a course and distance winner as well, there's definitely ground, like everything Bruce says about Glass Slippers, totally. There's grounds for thinking Liberty Beach. You can definitely finish 2nd though as well if you wanted to play that as well. I'm actually going to go even further left field with my selection, which may well be scoffed at. But in the array of different markets you've got to play at here, there is a 3 places market, which is where I'm looking, and I'm actually going to back the penultimate one in the market, Dubai Station here.
Whoa.
So he's only ran twice over 5 furlongs in his life. Once was shedding his maiden tag in a novice event, and the other was when he was third in the Norfolk last year. So he's got plenty of pace. He's 4-1 to finish in the first three. Now, obviously, Batash, you would think, is home and hose for one of them, and you would think probably Liberty Beach and Glass Slippers for the others. But it's not a race I have a particularly strong opinion on. 5 furlongs could just be the key to him. He's relatively unexposed over this trip of 5 furlongs, and so I'm just going to back him for £20 at 5.1 to finish in the first three.
Bruce Millington having to go through his paper to see who this chap is.
We've had a bit of...
when you were talking, I was listening to everyone here, but I was going, what is this? What are we talking?
We've had a bit of luck this week, or we've managed to sniff out some place-only bets, taking on some of the shorter price ones at the head of the market. And so Dubai Station, unexposed over the trip, a massive... ask for him to shake up Batash. But for me, it just wouldn't be a massive surprise if he runs on into a place here.
Take out the Ascot run over the 6 on soft ground, which I think we can probably say, it is something he quite likes. But where was he drawn in the Commonwealth Cup? Let me just remind myself.
He ran in that last year,
I didn't even really know this horse was running. That's how
left field it is.
So he was drawn 3. So look, he was drawn right out of this. The Newcastle run is quite interesting. And I remember that race.
Yeah.
It was at the start of the season. It was in the first week back. If you remember, he beat
won the Group 3, didn't
Malotru, Marco Bottis, who's since been sold to Hong Kong for stratospheric price.
That was the Ascot race, wasn't it? That was
3
rearranged
lengths behind Pinatubo on his final start. Then the Hong Kong, Bloodstockers came in and got him. He only just scrambled home that day, didn't he? Interesting. So
he went then to Deauville last time and posted his highest career rating based on Racing Post ratings. And it's just, he's only ran twice. Like, all of his runs have been over 6, except for the 2, which was one winning his maiden, and the other one was his Norfolk.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued to click on this thing on Betfair that says how far Batash. So we've got a distance market, Neil.
Yeah, let's have a quick look at this.
Up to and including 2 1/4 lengths is 3.55, so just better than 5 to 2. Between 2.5 and 3 3/4 is 4.6. Over 4 is 3.4, and Batash not to win is 4.3. I'll tell you what, that's a really even market, isn't it?
It's almost perfectly.
It's almost a perfect 4-way market. What do you fancy there, Dave?
Well, it's interesting what you say about this. Shall we remind ourselves exactly what DJ says? Because he's got a very, very strong opinion on exactly how Batash will win.
Sure, look, Batash, I think, is the best sprinter I've ever seen when he's on his game. Now, he can throw in the odd stinker, but I don't think it's going to come here at Goodwood. I actually have a theory on this race. I think Jim Crowley is going to manage things here because he won't want to leave the Nunthorpe behind. I think it's something they realised last year in this race. He was 1 to 4. He only won by 3/4 of a length from Hootson. This is a stronger race. It was a really weak race last year, but Jim Crowley really managed it. Didn't show that explosive turn of foot halfway through as he usually does in his races, and I think it's going to be something similar here. I think you're going to see a workman-like, get the race out of the way type of performance from Batash. I could see him winning by a length comfortably. Don't see him winning by 5 or 6 lengths or anything like that. Just think he'll win, and hopefully he can go on and win the Nunthorpe. He is absolutely lightning. So really looking forward to Batash. Probably not a betting part position, but perhaps you could back him to win by maybe 2 lengths or less or something like that.
Cheers, DJ. And interesting, isn't it, that DJ thinks that this is going to be a carbon copy of what we saw last year, pretty much, and saving the energy, the engine, if you like, for York.
Do they do that, though, Dave? I mean, do they? Surely you're coming in to just win the race. I mean, at what point do you think I've got this race won, so therefore I can just do that?
You think about it mainly for jumps races,
but only
don't you?
When they jump the last.
I think this is a race where they want to put on a show here. They want to, like, he holds the course record, but it's quick ground, it's rattling fast, exactly what he wants. He want to go out and blitz it as far as they can.
The section listers here are absolutely in a lather, aren't they? Talking about sub 10 seconds.
What about this market then?
Let's go back to it then. Is there any angle for the Racing Welfare Charity? Considering we are doing well, perhaps we can play a little.
Yeah, we should have a little splosh on this.
Okay, what are we thinking then?
Well, let's go with DJ. He thinks that he'll win, but narrowly. So let's back up to and including 2 1/4 lengths at 3.8, shall we?
Yeah, okay. So how much do we want to be having on this? £50?
£2,000.
£2,000.
Responsible gambling.
Sorry, responsible gambling. 50?
Yeah, 50 at 3.7.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Snipe that 59 quid. There we go.
So sorry, so that's between 0 and 2. I'll make a note of that.
Between 0 and 2 1/4. So if he wins by a nose or anything up to 2 1/4, we win.
That covers Neil's wacky Dubai station theory as well.
Well, it's at the. I was just thinking actually, is 85 in the win market? I don't know whether I should probably have £5 on that at 85 because
we
you
haven't
never know.
really talked about Liberty Beach as much as we possibly should. We all follow Liberty Beach, don't we? We all love her.
I agree with that.
She's marvellous. She won over 6 furlongs on her return at Haydock despite pulling Jason Hart's arms actually out. She's taken Jason Hart to a new level. Really deserves it, Jason Hart. He's a hard worker and he is a really good jockey. Reminds me of Neil Callan and jockeys like that in the old days. Jim Crowley, to a certain extent, often in the right place, can ride all sorts of different horses. Really happy for him. John Quinn knows exactly what he's doing with these sort of horses. My problem is coming back to Goodwood with her. She's
really?
This is probably a prep for another crack at having. Okay, look, might well pick up some more black type here, but my problem with her at Sandown last time, when she got beaten...
We were all on her that day, weren't we?
We covered her on the Eclipse Day, that's right,
Yeah.
While he was in the studio with us, on Enable and Gayeth Day. She was too keen. We thought that, and she got there to the front a little bit too soon. My other problem with her, as I had this problem with her at Ascot, she is caught between 5 and 6 furlongs now, this horse. An easy 6 at Haydock was just about fine for her on her return. As she's getting older, I think this might be a bit speedy for her, and she just doesn't settle at the moment either. It'd be really nice to see her settle through the first furlong. If she does, she'll get closer.
I mean, they're going to go quick here, though, aren't they? Because Ornate's only got one way of going.
I think there'll
isn't
be
it?
a flat spot for her, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
And this is a quicker 5 furlongs than Sandown, even though the ground is now much quicker as well. I think I've got a feeling this theory might.
You were saying actually before the run
off.
at Sandown about her going up in trip and all of that, but
it was at Ascot. I fancied her to sort of give Batash a real
that
race.
form's
that
been
day.
frank from Sandown. The horse
It
at Vito's
has.
gone on over into
It
France
is
and won a
Al
Group
Ali?
2. Yeah. He went on to win a
and
Group 2.
make a challenge, didn't he, at the Curragh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So look, the form's good. But
Oh, sorry, at the Curragh. Yeah.
I just think that was her race to win last time, and she didn't.
She couldn't. Yeah.
I'm definitely Glass Slippers, who looks like it's coming in a little bit now in the market.
22.
Not really.
Not really. Her
man
industry
who moves
SP
the
looks like
market.
it's been trimmed a little bit. But what about Al Raya then? Because Simon and Ed Crisford, Al Ali, they know all about Liberty Beach. A word for this one, Neil Hubbard.
Yeah, they've had a couple of nice sprinters this year, this one and El Ali, haven't they? Won a Group 3 as a juvenile, so pretty good last year. Runner-up 2 listed events this year.
Yeah.
There's no reason to think that she won't run really well. She gets, £12 here, like Liberty Beach from Batash. So she looks like there's no reason why she won't go well, but you just got to think, of the two, I don't know what the match bet is. What is this? We've got A versus B match bet here. It is...
Right.
It is Glass Slippers versus Liberty Beach.
Ooh.
What price is Glass Slippers?
Oh, you'll like this,
It's
Bruce,
just 2 to
surely.
1.
2.88.
Yeah, I think I'd prefer.
I prefer that.
The better value is still going to be Glass without the fat. Without the
without
fav, isn't
the
it? I
fav,
think
yeah.
you're going to get a bigger price, and I think that she.
4.7 without,
Yeah, I'd
which
much
you
rather
think
do
is
that,
a
I
match
think.
bet
I'd rather
anyway,
do that.
do you?
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to find out about Ken Colt. Well, I'm sure
Yeah.
there used to be an old bloke who lived over the road called Ken Colt, but I actually researched the real Ken Colt because it's owned by Chris Wright, so there's obviously a musical connection. And there's Ken Colt. Look, he's a DJ. He stands for energetic DJ sets and creates feel-good music with positive vibes.
Currently active DJ, is he? Or former?
No, I
DJ?
think he looks pretty active. He's not kind of smashy and nicey. I'm sure all those trendy lads behind the glass have heard of him. But,
Trendy?
But more importantly, just in terms of form, because I'm always, like you touched upon earlier, Neil, when they come across the channel, you always want to give them a good old look. I can't see anything that makes me think Ken Colt's going to come and take the money.
Beat Al Raya last time, and that was a bit of a surprise, actually. So I think, first time tongue tie on. Stevie Donahoe was saying yesterday, the jockey that we had in the studio loves seeing a horse that he's riding with a first time tongue tie on. He thinks it definitely gives him a couple of lengths. Stefan Pasquet having what I presume is his first ride of the week. I haven't seen Stefan, one of the top French
I'm sorry,
jocks
I've
out
clicked
there
on a
as well.
Ken
Are
Colt
we listening
video.
to Ken Colt?
Yeah, this is Sun Goes Down.
The sun goes down. Let's hope your volume goes down. Yeah, the sun goes down. We got a little bit going on in there. Ken Colt, never heard of him before, but obviously Chris Wright and Chrysalis Records are fairly impressed with him. Okay, yeah. So look, we covered pretty much all of them. Ornate, we gave a quick
How did you
mention
say
to.
you were going to play it, Dave? Sorry?
I am Glass Slippers. I think Batash will win. I put him out. No originality there. I just think he just wins. But I definitely like the Glass Slippers angle as well. I remember after we came off the RP Live show on the Tuesday of Royal Ascot, I went, this is a filly that I'm going to be with at times this season.
But it is a properly astonishing drift, isn't it?
Yeah.
She's gone from 10 out to 24. I mean, it's hard to know where, could that just be
Is it the ground?
we've got another.
I suppose it must be.
We've got
Still on
another
the Abbey
7
on
runner
soft, is it?
3:15 race as well, haven't we? If there was 8 runners here, surely the industry SBs would be slightly down
Yeah,
because
that's true.
lots of people would be back in a race.
We've actually got Thunder in Blue, I think, is out of our next race.
As it's quickened up.
so
Good
down
to
to
firm.
6.
They haven't watered the sprint course. We've got 2 more races here. We go back onto a round course for our next one coming up. A real puzzle of a race. Looking forward to getting into that one. Bruce Millington's going to give you a line on exactly what he thinks about the middle distance horses as well. But it's the speed balls coming up, and Batash is nice and ambling his way down to the start. Exactly what you want to see. Listen, Hamdan has said, I don't want any crowd in 2020 for my superstar, and the Jockey Club has spoken.
Yeah, I mean, it's if you're Charlie Hills here, you've already had a nice win with Tilsit, haven't you? And here you are on the Sussex Downs, Afax run well. No one's coming up and driving you mad. You're standing, enjoying the sunshine, and you're watching Batash lolloping down to the start.
And you're about to win 70 grand.
Yeah, but I mean, the point is that almost going from the winning line to the stalls is as big a deal for Charlie Hills and Connections as what happens the other way. Because if he does boil over,
good.
It is. It's really good. But if he does boil over, then obviously that's a concern. But he's absolutely, Crody's in complete control on the back. And he's cantering. Is that cantering? Are you any good on horse speed?
That'd be
Is that a canter?
That is a hat canter, I think that's what they call it. I think
slow canter.
Yeah, it's very slow canter.
Yeah, I live in a village with about 5 stables in it, and I can tell you that I'm often caught behind a hat
about
canter.
to trot.
That looks like kind of what they're doing, really.
And you get that stare, don't you? If you dare to overtake at more than about 4 miles an hour.
I tell you what, they get a stare off me if they don't wave. If your work riders out there and watching this, always wave at people, just or at least nod or something like that. It's the ones that are like this. Yeah, you knew you had to slow down for me. Anyway, and let's not go when they're not single file. That's what does get you into. Imagine living in Newmarket.
Hark at Jeremy Clarkson there.
Yeah, exactly. In my monster truck with my horn. If you don't wave, there will be a horn. No, but of course you think about the horses and you slow down for them all the time, don't you? You should do. That's right. But listen, hat canter going down. He looks absolutely fine. Sizzling hot day. Not a bead on him. Glass slippers we can now see. She looks fine as well in her coat. Absolutely no problem. So they should do it this year. Let's get another update on the market. Any resistance whatsoever to Batash?
Not really. 1.29 now, so a little bit shorter than what he was when we first started talking about it. Liberty Beach, I suppose. She was 9.2 last night, but she's into 7.6. So I guess Glass Slippers is the one that they don't want. Liberty Beach is the one that's being backed against her. Although Aurea is probably... Yeah, a little bit for her. 36 from 48 yesterday, and the rest is name your price, really.
Do you ever get called a certain celebrity lookalike?
No.
Well, someone's just emailed me and said, "What's Stephen Merchant doing in the studio?" I think that's pretty rough.
Office. Someone's emailed you that?
Someone's emailed me that, yeah. Do you think that's rough?
I've never heard it before.
Fatboy Slim is what people think you look like, Norman Cook.
I've not had that one before.
Really?
No,
I've got a mate who's absolutely... He's like, how's Norman Cook? I'm like Fatboy Slim, watch back. I've got boys in the gallery are going to watch that
He's
back.
an even bigger DJ
right
than
right
Ken
now,
Cole,
he's
isn't
definitely... There should be a Fatboy Slim horse. Has there ever been a horse called Fatboy Slim? There hasn't been, has there? That'd be
It's
a good
definitely
name.
the DJ I've heard of
But
more
Norman
than Ken
Cook.
Cole.
So I've got a mate who always says, how's Norman doing? How's Norman Cook? And I'm like, what are you on about? Oh, yeah, it's Bruce. Okay, fair enough. Let's not even go there with mine. The Plusnet bloke. You know the Plusnet advert?
The Yorkshire.
I get that.
The Yorkshire Plusnet.
Have you ever seen
broadband.
that?
What, with that brass band playing?
Yeah, one.
Background? Yes.
If I ever wear a check shirt, everyone's like,
that's
Plusnet.
quality. Yeah, I love it.
One,
I love
Neil,
it.
have you got one?
Stephen Merchant?
That's the one that kicked it off.
Stephen
wasn't it?
I see. I see the one asking you.
They were saying, why have you got Stephen Merchant?
You thinking,
No.
I've never heard it before.
Okay, anyway, Batash won. No, we're not there yet.
King George is going in.
After all of that,
We did
he
almost
won.
miss it. Right, let's get our game head on because Batash could blow them away. They're off and running. Batash is out. In mid-division, he hasn't really been sent on just yet.
Glass Slippers is slow
very,
away, Bruce.
very level break so far. Yeah, Glass Slippers is slow away. Liberty Beach is also out the back as Batash slowly grinds his way to the front between the 3 and the 4 furlong. Any market ripples, Neil?
No, Batash still as you were, 1.28, pretty much the same
here,
price.
guys. 2 tribes as
Dubai
well.
Station pretty shorter now, but
Liberty
still
Beach
Batash.
on the stand side, rest going down the middle. This is all over.
Batash short now, yeah.
Yeah, Batash he's taken control now as they
Glass
enter
Slippers
the
gone in.
ultimate furlong. Glass Slippers is
Come on,
making a go
Slippers.
of it on the outside,
Come on,
though. It's
Slippers.
not completely
Ornate.
over.
Come on,
Ornate.
Slippers.
Glass Slippers is going well
on,
here.
Slippers.
Ornate
She's gonna get a
clinging on
second
for
here at least,
third.
Bruce.
Liberty
Boys.
Beach
Yes.
is done for.
And the unders.
But
Come on,
Batash is
Slippers.
winning it. I tell you, Ornate's
Come on,
hanging
Slippers.
around. Ornate's hanging around.
is
But
he gonna
Batash
get-
gets the
Lovely.
job done nicely. Glass Slippers just about repels Ornate for second. I'm not sure we've got our distance
No, it
bet
looked a
up
bit
there.
more, did it?
Well, I don't know. I thought it was slightly under, actually. He looked like he was not in any trouble, really, but it was workmanlike. DJ, you called it absolutely right, David Jennings. Bruce Millington, take a bow. All day you have been saying, why on earth is Glass Slippers? And in the without markets, absolutely 7-2-ish.
Yeah, lovely.
Lovely.
I mean, like I say, sometimes don't be afraid of a drift. Embrace it.
Yeah.
Roll with it.
She didn't look good through the first half at all, did she?
No,
It was
but she ground it out fine and done. Again, like at Ascot, she's probably on the least favoured strip of terrain. But Batash was good. He didn't blow anybody away. It was exactly what he needed to do. Jim had to shake him up.
She got a stick out.
Yeah, he gave him a quick start. I'll tell you what, Ornate's run a right good race in third. He's probably only beaten 3 lengths. With our winning margin, that's either I think that's 2.5.
I think it's a bit more.
I think it's 2.5.
This is like something that plagues you, isn't it? That goes around.
I bet distances all the time.
But you get on actually on rather than over or under. You've had them on sometimes.
Yeah, I can do it. Yeah, oh, absolutely, absolutely. You know when they announce the distance at racecourse, no one cares. It's just like the way. I'm going, what is it? And they're like, are you bastard? No, it was never that.
Where's the judge?
People are looking at me.
Judge.
Going, what are you doing?
Absolutely, but listen, so we'll find out what the distance is where the guys in the studio will tell us in, because I know some of you would have waited with Bruce there. We're looking at about just approaching the final furlong, guys. This is where Jim starts the road, and as I said, DJ got it quite right. Lots of others falling in a hole. Liberty Beach, marooned. I say marooned. She was on her own, just solo on the stand side. She didn't get a lead this time. She's just too keen.
Have we got a bias?
New track record.
New track record.
New track record. We'll get back to the biases in a minute. New track record. So look, he looks. I think that basically means that Glass Slippers has run particularly well, and Ornate's come right back to his best. Bruce, you're quite right. 50.
What was it?
50 what? 50. 55.62, which when you think about it,
55.
That's 5,
I think
11
in the
second
decent quality
furlongs.
5 furlong handicap, it was like 57.
God,
so
55.62. The course record was 56.2.
Wow, that's ace. That's really, really cool.
We love it when that happens. So,
So he
Stevie
shaved over
Donohoe,
half a
thankfully,
second.
Look, I mean,
not worried about his 6 furlong record.
let's just hand it to this horse. He's absolutely superb. And I think Jim called him the Batmobile in the paper today. And
Lovely.
He's the sort of horse, and I've said this on this programme time and time again, the hallmark of a great horse is a horse that gets new people into racing, gets them engaged and think, I love that horse. And in 30 years' time, people will say, what's your favourite horse? And they say, there was a sprinter called Batash. It was absolutely
It's actually
brilliant.
an interesting, like, I was thinking about this on the walk in today, and like, with all the stuff they've done about, with the race programme and moving stuff around, I wonder if they considered moving this to the Saturday. So, so they would have had more eyeballs on it.
They need to move something to the Friday if that's the case, don't they?
Yeah, I know, but just for like one-off, because of the way the race was going to shape up, it could have been an interesting one to have on the Saturday to get a few more eyeballs on him.
Yeah, I guess so. The only thing is everyone's working from home. They're all furloughed and they've all knocked off, haven't they, for Friday afternoon? So it's probably a huge audience.
Yeah.
So what happens when the crowds come back? If there's a crowd at Ebor, at the Ebor meeting, at York,
it's only going to be a select crowd, isn't it?
It's on the Friday, isn't it? The
Well,
ninth?
no.
So
I mean, they've delayed crowds for 2 weeks, so
it's up until the 15th, isn't it? So it's the week after.
Well, at the
that.
moment,
At the moment.
He won at the Ebor
so-
last year. He won the Nunthorpe last year, though, didn't he? He was fine.
Yeah. I suppose you're right. So when he's on song, he's absolutely superb.
Interesting. There was 1.6 million matched on the race in total.
Boys in the gallery are telling me to give reference to the great. This is what you call a front page.
Yeah, it was a lovely front page.
It really, really was.
And I tell you what, as well, it's another Edward Whittaker picture. All this week, the Racing Post on online has been full of the most stunning images by Edward Whittaker. He's a master.
If you're on Instagram, I don't follow that. I'm not really on Instagram. I've never put a picture. I've never tweeted. I've got a Twitter handle, but I do follow Ed.
He's
because
unbelievable.
It is
isn't he?
brilliant.
Beautiful.
You wake up in the morning and how does he do it? Does he ever? I mean, I only ever see him. Unless it's on a course, of course, like Royal Ascot or something. I see him at the awards due in December, which has been cancelled, isn't it, unfortunately, at the HRI Awards. But is he ever at home? I mean, he's just everywhere, isn't he?
He is. I'll tell you what's amazing about Edward, right, is that this will be his 35th Goodwood, or he goes to the same tracks every year, and a lot of the photographers, they've got the usual place to stand there and snap. He's always trying to find new angles and new places to go.
Point,
it's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Just
so
love him.
Hats off, boys, for the front page. We think it was great, and it's come good. It has paid off. So he looked a little bit workmanlike, didn't he, Batash? Were you with him in some multiples? The Calusi double, was that the one? I was certainly on that. I can tell you that much. He looked a little bit workmanlike. Glass slippers, let's talk about the placed horses. Ground is probably why she got a little bit taken off her feet, I think. We know she likes to slop anyway, and it was probably quick enough. I look back at her only sole run at Goodwood. That was something else I tried to find an angle in. She probably should have won that day as a 2-year-old on the second start. Found all sorts of trouble.
Connections will be loving that.
Absolutely.
They will have absolutely loved that, because there's no disgrace in losing to Batash on Batash's home conditions. She will get her conditions as the rain softens.
And 2 furlongs out, you knew she was going to finish second, didn't you? So that would have been a great run for Kevin Ryan to watch.
You know, if they meet again in the Abbey, there's only one winner from.
Do they go now back up to 6 furlongs? She won at 6 furlongs at Deville, for example. Can they now look? And she's run there, hasn't she?
Either or.
Would they go for the Nunthorpe as well?
She hasn't been for a Nunthorpe actually. She went to a listed race instead. She's been to Longchamp a couple of times, as we well know. Took the Abbey. It'll all be about the Abbey again for her, no doubt. However, can they maybe go for Sprint Cup with her? Have a pop of that?
Possibly. I mean, don't forget, I suppose you're going to look at what the other eminent sprinters do. The sprint division's good at the moment, isn't it? Because Oxtead's forced his way into it. She's really good. Batash is obviously fantastic. Golden Horde, obviously, had his wings clipped last time, but still decent.
What about in the Nunthorpe, Campanelle, the Queen Mary went up. Winners coming out of that left, right, and centre for Wes Ward. Who did we have yesterday? Supremacy's
good.
He did look good, didn't he?
He really did.
For Clive Cox, he's got another one there. Absolutely, another Golden Horde there. So will he go take that incredible?
I think the thing with glass slippers is like Connections have already proven that they know like their way around the French program book. So I guess a lot will depend on how their program looks and where they can plot the way back to the Abbey from there.
And also the French prize money, even though the British prize money's got a lift, it's still better, isn't it? And let's face it, you are here to make money, aren't you?
Yeah,
so,
2.25.
2.25. Get in there. We did it.
The first arms up, aye, black shirt today, no geography teacher rings here.
No, absolutely. And have you noticed, by the he's got an undershirt on. He's taking no chances, Neil. That's like the Monty Roberts rug. Not Monty Don.
Monty Don rug. It's going to feel like a Monty Don rug when you get back on the tube. Oh, you don't tube it, do you walk to the beach? It's sizzling out there at the moment,
I was going to say, for that walk
well
home,
done,
I've got
lads.
a scarf in my locker if you want to borrow one. It's 38 degrees out there, man.
A John Motson coat on.
But anyway, never mind that. How much did we win for the charity?
Yeah, I think the market's 150. I think it was.
Get in, go
wonderful.
I must admit, I was worried. I thought that was more like 2.5. But I did have a little sneaky.
I
thought
she got close, and I think we can thank Jim for
hope on that. I thought it was more 2.5.
Well done, David Jennings. You put us onto that. That was absolutely fantastic. What a week we're having in at Glorious Goodwood. One more race to come. We go on back onto the round course. A real tricky puzzle as well. We've seen some small fields this week, lads, haven't we? But the drama has been up there. Why are we having these small fields, do you think, in these feature races? Keith Melrose, for example, said in the Goodwood Cup, which started off the small field feature races, he said, one more horse. Any horse, and I think whoever was in, was it Tony Ennis, said Michael Atwater, just throw something in there, just for the dead 8 runners.
It's happening all the time, and I'm afraid it's happening over the weekend as well. There's a lot of 6s and 7s. You guys doing 4 races at Newmarket with Keels tomorrow. I think there's 5, 7, 7 and 4, so that's no use for the old each way. But as we've seen, you've got bookmakers are offering more places, and you can back 3 places on an exchange.
Are we catching up COVID-wise now? Then do you think, Bruce? Everyone was desperate to get their horses out and run, and we were having the maximum fields. They had to reduce.
Look at that Newmarket card, right? There's decent prize money. The fields are abysmal. Now, the last time I looked, there was about 3,000 horses trained within 100 yards in Newmarket, and yet you've got no more than about 3 dozen running there. So it's a real shame. And we've got 6 runners here. The only thing I would say is it's about the most competitive 6-runner race you'll see in a long time, because there's not a lot between them, is there, Neil?
No, there's prize money down to 6 now as well, with Thunder in Blue coming out, so everyone will get paid here in some way. But yeah, Desert Encounter and Communique are sort of in competition for favouritism.
For the Glorious Stakes, the Group 3. Let's have a look at that on the screen. You can see last year's winner. Desert Encounter then?
Yeah, he's your market leader at the minute at 4, Communique 4.1, Alinac 5.7, Pablo Escobar 6.4, La Donde V 8, and Spirit of Appin is 16.5. But yeah, a pretty tight sort of affair between the top 2 at the head of the market. And for me, I think the winner will come from there. And this might be a slightly conservative way to play it, but I'm actually going to back both of them and just Dutch them at the top of the market, because I think that
Is that a snore noise you just made?
Do you not think that's
Stephen Merchant's lost his comic edge, hasn't he?
Do you not think that's a way to play this here then?
Okay, you're getting evens, aren't you?
Yeah.
All right.
You're getting even
He's on
money.
a roll.
from the
You're
parents.
on a roll.
You're the expert.
No,
I'm going
I-
to pay for that, aren't I? I'm going to pay for that snore.
No, not at all. I just think if you look
Pablo
down...
Escobar's going to fall in a hole.
No, I do just think this race is between the two of them, and trying to split them, I don't know, is a bit of a thankless task here. I think it is a flip of a coin, as the market would suggest. So I'd sooner go to war with both of them rather than try and take one of them on for what would be pretty wafer-thin reasons, really. So I'd sooner have both of them on my side.
We're getting sound effects from Bruce today. We've had Ken Colt, haven't we?
Yeah, Ken
coming
Colt.
through
That's
the
quite
speakers.
good, that. What was it
Ken
called? The
Colt.
Sun Goes Down?
Yeah, that's it. All right, Ken Colt. Everyone's now Wikipediaing him. I'm sure he's got a page. And now we've had slumber noises. But listen, what do you think is going to happen here? Because we have got. I think every horse here has got more than 5 lines that you could quite easily say about them. Desert Encounter, then, guys. Why is he not just gonna rock up and blow them away again? I've got against him mainly because he's an 8-year-old this year round. He was held by Communique when they both met. Communique, that was at Newmarket. Desert Encounter was coming back to form that day, but Communique since won at York. He's just one of these, a little bit like Vela Kent, just turns up, doesn't he? And he's 1 from 1 at Goodwood. He's my pick, I should say that.
You're going Communique, are you?
Yeah, I am, and I think this is. I think he ran really well last time. He's back in top form. Joe Fanning back on from 5. Probably be the pace in the race.
Yeah, he's looking like he's slowly sort of coming
and
to the
Spirit
boil
of
now,
Appin.
doesn't he?
Yeah.
Communique.
And he's going to bag 1 or 2 a year, I think, Communique, don't you? He's a really nice, tough horse. He's shown himself to be this. This is his level, I think, and this is his race. So it's Communique for me. Bruce, where are you going?
Well, I mean, this race really doesn't thrill me at all. I mean, unfortunately, there's a lot of old, stalwarts.
Let's concentrate on that for a second then.
Well,
Wax
okay,
lyrical a
there's
bit.
just one thing I want to say here, and it is that I think British racing has a problem. And as they crossed the line yesterday in the Gordon Stakes and Moguls just about got up in a real muddle of a race, I thought to myself, this is yet another year where the classic generation middle distance colts are moderate, and there's not many of them. And we've got a problem here, okay? Keith Melrose, the Racing Post betting editor, summed it up brilliantly. He said you've got a race programme that is geared towards encouraging stamina, and you've got a breeding industry that is geared towards encouraging speed. And it doesn't really matter how many Group 1s or how much prize money you give towards staying races, if it's what they sell for, not what they win.
Yeah.
So if they're selling for zillions on a breeze up, that's where the breeders are going to focus. And if you take Stradivarius out of the staying division, then that division's had loads of investment. Loads of those stays races have been upgraded. You have the £1 million bonus, and it's not really working. And the kind of the symbol of that, if you like, is the Derby. And we've talked about it before. You have to go all the way back to Golden Horn now for the last very decent Derby winner. But since then, they're not very good at all.
The form figures are dreadful.
The form figures are awful. I think the last 12 runs by a Derby winner have been defeats.
Yeah,
you have to go all the way back to the 2016 Irish Derby to find a Derby winner who's won another race. It's poor. Harzand. So this race, this is slightly different. This is a Group 3 for older horses, but it's all a bit kind of meh, and I worry about it. The fact is that with the older horses, they're all going off to Australia, they're going across to Hong Kong. The good 3-year-old colts that have got any stamina are all in Ballydoyle, so it's a real worry.
Yeah, because it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think Keith's right. The programme, we're supposed to be the world leaders of the Derby trips, aren't we? And we go down to Australia every year. And we absolutely dominate their mile
William
plus
Haggis
races
this year.
down there.
Yeah.
William Haggis with the Dave won the 2 Spring Carnival races at Royal Randwick. Why all of a sudden then? Is it because there's no star at Ballydoyle? Is that what it is? Or are they retired? I don't know. I mean, when was his last real 1.5 mile star? Was it Galileo? I mean, you think about Fame and Glory turn into a cup horse, Chase Don't See the Stars, for example.
Camelot.
St Nicholas Abbey,
Highland
yes,
Reel,
but he ran
maybe.
behind Frankel so many times, didn't he? Camelot, definitely Camelot.
I don't know. And the other thing is actually Epsom and the Derby. I mean, look at what it threw up this year. It was just a joke of a race. It was a joke of a race. Let's not beat about the bush here, okay? Because we all want racing to thrive, but. If you never had a race, say the Derby was run at Newbury or York, and all of a sudden they said, you know what, someone went for a walk on Epsom Downs and we thought we could make a race course there and we're going to run the Derby. That'd be ridiculous. You'd think it's the stupidest idea in the world.
Yeah.
So there's all sorts to look at. But if we go another couple of years like this, it's going to become a big, big problem.
Now, calling this out is absolutely right. And you'll have social clips of Bruce going on about this quite right on Twitter, and BHA will hopefully see these sort of things. It happened about 10 years ago with the fillies. It happens with the mares over the jumps. We can react, can't we? And there are ways to do it. But I think the breeding industry and the race planning that's the answer for me. They need to get their heads together, because you remember after Kamiko won the Guineas, we picked up on a comment, didn't we, by Andrew Balding, saying, it's just not fashionable to be going, what?
Yeah, exactly.
It is the Derby trial. That's what everyone thinks. The biggest pointer, I should say. Guineas isn't really a trial, is it? But a pointer for the Derby. Yet they did it. They got burnt. That's going to put more people off, isn't it?
Totally.
Yeah, I was just thinking about like what the French did with their Derby and bringing it back to 10 furlongs. I mean, I know racing is, we don't want to change anything ever, do we, the people in racing? But it's an interesting move what the French did so many years ago, and whether...
Except though,
I don't know,
that
it's quite a controversial
yeah,
thing.
but it hasn't really elevated the status of the French Derby, has it?
No.
I mean, it's
no, that is definitely a lesser equivalent, isn't it? 100%.
I think there will be people who will say, look, you've gone off on one here. All you're doing is reacting to a very small 4 or 5 year period. But I don't know.
If changing the distance of the French Derby hasn't worked, then what do you do with the Derby? Like, what is the...
my worry, okay, and it's been expressed by people with far more expertise in the field than me, is that we are just it's the inevitable conclusion of the need for speed.
Yeah.
So,
So what do you do? Reduce the amount of races that are available over those trips and put more in for...
The reason why it's more attractive for a filly to run as a 3-year-old in the King George, we just had theKing George last weekend, enable back to her best, it's because the weight for age, it's a gimme, isn't it? If you've got an Oaks winner like Love, if Love have turned up, of course you'd have given her a race. Tagruda is the classic case in point. But...
And again, Dave, if you've got a Derby winner and you think, are we going to keep it in training next year? We might win the Corrie Cup, we might win the King George, we might win something else, and then we'll go for the Art. You know that in the Art, there'll be some flashy little 3-year-old filly who's going to get 5 stone off everyone and is going to win.
Which is a slight problem. They are trying to readjust that from August to 1st. However, will it be enough? We're not sure. The key probably lies in County Tipperary as well, doesn't it? Because Serpentine is the horse that we should have seen. We were all saying, what 3-year-old would we put in the King George? It had to be Serpentine, the Galileo, if you like, or the Derby winner running in it. However, Serpentine, it was the market suggested that wasn't the one, and like Wings of Eagles, who people go back to, like Sovereign, who actually ran in it and
Sovereign
made
ran
basically
okay
the
though
Irish
behind it.
We ran
NA
fine,
okay.
but they don't. They now go back and they look at it commercially, don't they? Serpentine could be a crown jewel for them potentially because of his breeding. But do they want him to get defeated again? Do they want to mess him up? It's the pressure on them with Serpentine now is absolutely huge, isn't it? So look.
Yeah, well, I think, like you say, if the key to it is Ballydoyle and Coolmore and what they do, I mean, they breed to win races, and whilst they're still breeding, whilst there's still value in winning those races, they're going to continue to breed for those to win those races, aren't they? They basically breed to win a derby, don't they?
Yeah, completely.
But to see the stars, for example, in a John Oxyard or something, they're just absolutely absent, aren't they? English King was the one we were hoping for, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, he isn't.
And he's
he
tiny.
Just isn't.
He isn't. And if anything, he looks like a horse that
but that's also another horse that's owned by Bjorn Nielsen, who basically bred Stradivarius to try and do the same as well, and ended up with a cup horse. So you know what I mean?
Yeah, English King could still be a cup horse. Don't think he's not. Let's get back to the 345.
We need to get Neil's bets on, don't we?
Oh,
yes,
I've done
we
it. Sorry,
do.
Oh, have you gone? What did you do?
Oh, we
Dutching.
Dutched Desert Encounter and Communique.
And that will pay 3-1 the pair, so it would be around about even money if you want to do
money,
that.
yeah, for those front two.
Does that mean that you completely discount then the rest of them? Just quickly, Neil. Alunak, for example, who disappointed slightly when he was last seen, but go back. That was actually behind Communique, wasn't it? And if you go back to the previous second, Ascot gives him absolutely every chance. Andrew Balding.
Yeah, I thought he was a bit in and out. Like I wasn't sure if he perhaps needed softer ground as well. But then he ran fifth in a Breeders' Cup on rock hard ground. Yeah, I just found him a bit of a difficult one to sort of try and get a handle on really, because he was obviously formerly trained in Germany, wasn't he? This is his first season over here with Andrew Balding. So it feels like they're just trying to not work out, because he's a 5-year-old, so you pretty much know what you've got. But he could win it. I just wasn't that convinced by him personally.
I think if he hadn't run last time, you'd probably say that second in the Hardwick is good enough here, and he'd probably be favourite, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
But,
I wrote something.
He did run that.
I said he looked a huge player nearing the final furlong, but he fell in the hole and probably found the run coming too soon. So I'm doing the shrewd thing and jumping off him. But the ground was, I think, maybe slightly easier going with him. You like Pablo Escobar?
Yeah, no, I would say I dislike him least. That kind of sums up my feeling about this race.
Okay.
Something's got to win. I think his form's probably reasonably comparable, and I'm slightly interested in the potential change of tactics here. William Hagger's
Cheek
saying in the
pieces are
racing
off
post
as well, aren't
he's
they?
whipped the headgear off, and he's not going to make as much use of him early on. And I think that potentially in a small field like this might just play into his hands. And I just didn't quite see why there's such a difference in his price compared to the front two.
The one thing that did catch my eye about him was the cheap pieces coming off, because when Stevie Donahue was in the studio yesterday, he was talking about how, you know, when we see first-time blinkers or first-time visor, all of this, and it sort of like piques your interest in it all. But what he was saying is when they race in headgear of whatever type and then it's removed, that can almost have the same effect as when it goes on for the first time, because it actually wakes them up a little bit in the way that you would hope a visor would do, because all of a sudden he's been used to racing with cheap pieces on and being relatively blinkered, and now all of a sudden he's not, and it might just have the effect of concentrating a little bit more. So
I wonder if that's to do with no crowd as well, maybe, because the
less
final
noise
three
and less
furlongs, they
distraction.
can get a little
Around.
bit distracted.
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
noise and whatnot.
Yeah, Stevie was a big fan of mixing up headgear, wasn't
Just
he?
keep them on their
They
toes.
do get used to it, these characters. Le Don de V's quite an interesting horse in here, guys, because I was like, why is he turning up here? When he ran at Haydock last time, was it in the old Newton Cup?
Yeah.
He ran perfectly well behind Scarlet Dragon on his return at Royal Ascot. He then went there. I thought, this is a certainty for a nice handicap. It's Hugh Morrison. He's got the lowest official rating in here, and yet he's way ahead of Spirit of Appin in the market. He's a course winner.
Yeah.
Oshie Murphy's on. Why are they running here?
Yeah, he's actually been one of those horses, like his last two runs have been over this trip, and I wasn't totally convinced he wants this. I thought he was more of a 10 furlong horse, but his last two runs have been like totally fine, totally good. But as you say, it seems a bit of a, what do they say, tilting at windmills, whatever that means.
I
But,
don't know, is there a lack of big mile 4 handicaps?
I was just trying to think, have we not had one this week? Or was it just for 3-year-olds, the one that we had this week?
It was just for 3-year-olds, the one we've had so far. But look, he wouldn't look at. He would have been a strong favourite for a race here. So he could be a potential flyer.
There was always going to be, once we got to the 5-day decks, decent prize money available, and he may well have thought, we've got not a lot to lose, and we can pay for the diesel and then some. Hughie Morrison's always in my sort of trainers to respect kind of table, and that in itself, is a very positive tick. But again, and likewise, Sheen riding is also good news. But I think indubitably any interpretation of the form tells you that he's got something to find.
Spirit of Appin's been backed as well, the one that we haven't mentioned, but we must.
14.5. Sorry, he was 32 overnight.
Yeah.
Sorry. Correct myself, but yeah, she was as big as 30s overnight, but half that price now into 14.5.
Yeah, she's a lightly paced angle. She likes to get on with it, basically. She found Manuela de Vega way too hot. Manuela de Vega we will see tomorrow on the final day. A horse that's going to have a big sale.
She's ran a couple of good races from the front, though, Spirit of Appin. When she gets
over course and distance.
Yeah, once she gets a bit of a soft lead and whatnot, which she could be a bit of a nuisance to communicate in this.
And if they're not going to make it on Pablo, then you'd think it's a straight pace duel between Spirit of Appin and Communique early on.
And Communique back down in trip. You just think that he'll
I guess the thing with Communique and Desert Encounter as well, you're going to have one at sort of both ends of the field here. If Communique gets a soft lead, you've got that wrapped down, and that's where you'd want to be up close. But if they do get taken on a little bit, Desert Encounter is going to be dropped out. So the thinking there is also you've probably got both, like the way this race could be run, by backing Communique and Desert Encounter, in theory, you might have covered the both permutations.
Who's going to be outright fav? That's the question. Is
it Desert Encounter.
Desert going to hold on to it?
Yeah, actually a bit shorter now, 3.8 from around the 4 mark. Yeah, 11 to 4 now, 3.75, Communique 4.1. Alinac a little bit weak, 6.2. But yeah, Spirit of Appin a little bit of money, which I suppose they're thinking that she might get a soft lead and steal a march on these, perhaps.
Yeah, I saw a couple of the Shrewdies, if you like, putting her up last night.
Might actually be a bit of money for her around that sort of mid-20s, 30 price, with people thinking that they might be able to get trade out of it in running because they've snagged the value pre-race to be able to get out of it in
Cat
running
and
as
Mouse,
well.
she might benefit if she gets the lead. We're 5 minutes away from officially 5 minutes away from our last race here on day 4 of Glorious Goodwood. Social comments, you've still got time to get them in if you want to ask Bruce or Neil questions, or indeed myself, what we're looking at in the Stewards' Cup. We had a look at the Stewards' Cup, by the way. Have you had a look at it?
Yeah, very much so. Nahar, the old pirate, he's very short, 4-1, isn't he?
We smashed him, do you remember? Before we came in on the Saturday, we were thinking, James Doyle went for it on the rail, just didn't quite get home at Newbury last time. I actually forgot he was running, and he goes and hoses up, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Do you think he's just going to be a group horse in the handicap then?
I don't necessarily know. I mean, I mean, I will be back, and I can give you my tip now. A, because it's not worth anything. B, because I'm not here tomorrow. But I think Summergand just back.
Oh, your old pal.
Back in with as many extra places as you can.
First time
and
cheap
you've got
pieces.
a very good chance of copying. I mean, he's top weight, but that's absolutely fine. He deserves to be brilliant. Horse.
We love Summergand on this show. Okay, that's the Stewards Cup tip from Bruce. Neil.
Yeah, I think the favourite is your classic group horse in a handicap. He was really good at Newbury last time. But like in a race like this, you shouldn't be scared of a price, because we've seen at Goodwood with the handicap that we've had today, where there could be trouble in running. I know they don't go around a bend and it's straight, but there's going to be trouble in running. The draw, you can't. I don't think there's too much in that. But there's going to be all sorts of hard luck stories in this. There always is. So if you do fancy something at a price, don't be scared of it, really.
I think the good things have been winning, though, haven't they, in recent years? I'm just trying to
yeah.
think, what was the boarding one that absolutely scooted up? The filly.
Foxtrot Lady?
Dancing.
Foxtrot Lady, was it? No, Dancing... I can't remember. Dancing Star?
Dancing Queen. I can't remember. Someone will tell us the
I'll have a
Stewards
look.
Cup winners. Of course, don't forget, we kick off tomorrow with the consolation race for the Stewards Cup. So that will give us an idea about the draw. But the last three winners have been drawn all over the place. And Stevie Donahue, our jockey who joined us this week, yesterday said, it's wherever the pace is, lads, as whoever goes faster. And of course, when it's fast ground, it can tend to be middle to stand side. But we will get an idea before our feature handicap, massive handicap. So we've got some small field races tomorrow at Newmarket, a couple of small field races at Goodwood as well, but we've also got a barnstormer for you. Who was it?
I'll just take the three of the last five winners of the Stewards Cup were favourites. Magical Memory in 2015 at 6-1, Dancing Star for Balding and Probert in 2016, and last year Kadeem for Charlie Hills at 4-1. So, you know, the trend is towards these well-backed.
With the
good
favourite
horses
with Nahir, I
smashing
think
out.
Haggis has won it a couple of times in the last, 10, 15 years as well. I think at least twice he's won
We've
it.
got a 3-year-old in there as well, haven't we? Miras for...
All of those horses that I talked about
are
were all
3-year-olds.
Won the Scottish Stewards Cup.
Yeah,
I think, the Johnson
he
horse.
bombed out at Ascot, was it? Or
Yeah.
somewhere he bombed out.
I love
anyway.
the Stewards Cup, though, don't you?
Brilliant.
And I tell you what, as well, I'm so glad. I know it's pathetic, but I'm so glad it's called the Stewards Cup again. I thought it was a sin when they dropped it there. You know? It's
yes, of
stupid because
course.
it's named after a bunch of sherry drinking people standing in the box. But it's called the Stewards Cup. If you want to sponsor it, put your name in front of it and then put the Stewards.
Got all
yeah.
about that, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so listen, they're down at the start for our final race on the day here, day 4, a glorious Goodwood. How have you been getting on out there? Let us know. We know you love the coverage. Really touching feedback this week with some highs and lows. Highlights so far today, guys, just quickly. One master perhaps for you, Bruce?
No, I'm going to go with...
Slippers?
No, I'm going to go with that very exciting hand of the Group 3, the Thoroughbred Stakes, in which Tilsit won, because I just think
Tilsit.
it was a phenomenally exciting race, and I just think Tilsit and My Oberon are going to be really interesting. I love it when you see a race and you think, those are horses that I'm going to follow. Not for punting, but because they excite me. I want to see how their careers progress.
Extremely progressive
Those
young
and
horses.
Calusi, I think they could all be really, really good. So that was the highlight for me.
Track record broken as well. Don't forget Batash is what we have here on RP Live. We bring it into your living rooms. What have you got, Neil Hubbard, for us?
Yeah, just a bit of a market move on La Don de V, who was as high as 32, but is now into 8.
Wow.
Why is he running here, Hughie Morrison? Third Peakness run for him, third time up. Could he be about to take his form to the next level? Le Don de Vie going in with Pablo Escobar. I'm hoping Communique gets over the line. Neil is dutching the two favourites, both 3-1. In fact, is it now definitely outright favouritism for Desert Encounter?
No, joint favourites now, but Communique very briefly was favourite, but they're both joint favourites and a little bit shorter than they were at 3.9. But yeah, the market is generally about those two really at the head of affairs. But yeah, plenty of cash for Le Don de Vie.
No love for Alunak.
Sadly not, no, 7 from around 6.4 overnight. So yeah, a little bit weak.
Andrew Baldwin could do with a bit of a fillip this week, couldn't he? But we've still got 2 days to go. That could, of course, happen. He's having a great season. Bruce, then 1 or 2 more to go in. Call them home. It's the 3:45 final race here today. Mile 4, the Glorious Stakes, Group 3.
Okay, I think it'll be close, don't you? It sort of feels like I can't see anything winning it by 4 or 5 lengths.
No distance market, sadly.
No,
They're
that's
off.
right. Okay, they're off and dropped out at the back as expected. Is Desert Encounter.
And up the front is Communique.
Exactly. And what's that done to the market now?
Yeah, Communique favourite now, 3.2. So
I'll
around,
be very happy with that, guys. I
Yeah,
think the
9
fact
to
he's getting
4.
his own way. In fact, Oshie Murphy, Bruce, just trying to give him a bit more honesty.
Yeah, so Communique has headed the early strides from the 2 outsiders. Le Don de Vie is giving chase in second, and on that one's outsider, very close up, is Spirit of Appin, and then there's a 3-length break to Alunak, and then comes Pablo Escobar. And then his own good time at the back is Desert Encounter. There are 8 lengths from front to back. And I say there are 8 lengths. Commentators don't say there would be 8 lengths.
There are
8 lengths.
And what about these David Simcock horses? Always dropped so far out the back. It's not just Jamie Spencer. You see, Jim Crowley is on this year. He's dropped him right, Anchor Neil Hubbard.
Yeah, exactly the same as Bless Him in the Golden Mile for David Simcock as well. But yeah, Communique 3.05, so just a tad bigger than 2 to 1.
Your Dutching's looking good because they're both shorter, aren't they now?
Yeah, they are a little bit shorter, so there is actually a cash out option there in running, but we'll let it go.
Alunac's going quite nicely, guys. I'll be pretty happy with him. Pablo Escobar as well. Definite change of tactics there, but Communique has got the freebie. He's tough. Will they pass him, Bruce Millington?
I don't know. Who knows? We'll find out soon. They're plodding up the hill and
it's 8 lengths though.
At a sedate pace, and it's Communique, and grabbing second place now on the outside is Spirit of Appin. On the inside, still very close up, is Le Don de Vie. In 4th, we have Pablo Escobar, and then in 5th place, it's Alunac, and still happy to bring up the rear, Jim Crowley, on Desert Encounter as they reach the highest part of the course and get set to descend for the final telling few furlongs. What's the market saying, Neil?
Yeah, Desert Encounter is your market leader now at around 6 to 4, so
Don
very
DeVie's
strong.
going well, guys, really well.
Yeah, they're all going well. None of the jockeys are waggling
He's
their
going
arms
best,
yet.
I'd say.
So Communique just about from on the outside, Spirit of Appin. On the inside, still Le Don de Vie.
Yeah, Desert
on the
Encounter's
outside of that
strong.
one is Pablo Escobar.
Desert Encounter will love this.
Desert Encounter is in 5th, and on the
Even money
at the
Desert
back is
Encounter.
Alunac. As Communique comes under a
Whoa.
drive up front, he's really going to
battling
have to
though.
grind this out. Because in front now we've got Spirit of Appin.
Three's
Don
on,
de Vie
Desert
goes towards
Encounter.
the final
Three's
furlong.
on.
Here
Pablo
comes Desert.
Escobar's going well. There's no room for Le Don de Vie. Desert
comes
Encounter
Desert.
asked for his effort, but here's Pablo
Yeah,
Escobar.
Escobar.
He leads
Whoa,
into the final
Bruce
furlong.
Millington.
Desert Encounter, can you get there?
No.
It's Pablo Escobar.
Oh.
Pablo Escobar from Le Don de Vie and Desert Encounter. Pablo Escobar wins it. I can't remember which one of us tipped it, but anyway. that's the
You
result.
did.
Oh, was it me?
You did. At the
Thanks.
start of the show, you said this is the most least inspiring betting day for me personally. And I said that can flip on its head.
You're right.
And you've had a great day.
It's been good.
You've had a great day.
How
Glass
about
slippers, in the match bet in the to come second to the Sprint King. Pablo Escobar, fair play.
Different tactics from Haggis. And this is where, guys, I'm going to put a plug in for the Racing Post. We cram the front few pages with trainer quotes, and a lot of them are boring. Oh, he's got half a chance. We're hoping he's going to
Wouldn't
run.
swapper.
But Haggis was brilliant. He said we're going to have a change of tactics today. We're not going to make the running. We've got rid of the headgear, and it was really, really interesting stuff, and it paid off.
And
Great
just-
training by Haggis.
Just watching this, Tom Marcon's been quite clever here because what you're saying is quite right. He's waited. He was going really, really well, but he tried to get onto the back of Spirit Appin for as long as he possibly could. This is a horse that led at Newbury last time, and actually he hasn't done that much potentially when he's in front. He's got loads in hand, I would say. Desert Encounter, Neil, but in the run must have gone short.
1.13.
Ooh.
So another example. So that's the 1, 2. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that's the 4th or 5th horse that's gone.
I
odds
thought
on
he was
whilst
going to
we've
win.
been
I
here.
definitely thought he was
there's
going to
odds
win.
on, and there's
Chill
1.13.
Yeah.
Ooh, but
Pablo
was there.
Escobar actually hit 11 in running.
Wow, did you get involved in the Desert Counter in running? It was a similar scenario as to when he beat Mirage Dancer in the race last year.
Yeah.
He basically just outspeeded Mirage Dancer. It was a cat and mouse race that year. Communique, what do we go Communique now?
Well, he'll be being deleted from everyone's tracker, and everyone's saying, "Why didn't I do this earlier?" Because he's running out of road, isn't he? He's running out of excuses now.
I think so. But again, if you're on Communique, would you have liked to have seen him maybe press the button a bit sooner? I don't know. The problem is at Goodwood when they come down the hill, especially when on the Friday and the Saturday, when you can't ride so much of a patient race, as Stevie Donahue was saying yesterday. I totally agree with that. The front runners, they slingshot in and they can just get running. They can be hard to make ground up. What I hate when I'm on a front runner is when they all concertina up behind them, and then all of a sudden they've got to go again. The speed horses are always going to do you every time. And he was fighting a losing battle, I think, wasn't he, from half a mile out?
Yeah, I don't think Jim Crowley sat too far off on Desert Encounter. I mean, I think he's really produced him at the perfect moment. But the point is, he's 8 years old now, isn't he? So perhaps he's just not quite the horse he is. But he's run really, really well. I mean, as a horse race, as a spectacle, most people who've had a punt on that have had a run for their money, haven't they?
Yeah.
I thought actually that the Don DeVee, because he was quite
he
busy
ran
early
on a
on,
bit at the
stayed
end,
on
didn't he?
really well because he was short of space. So
Clearly a pattern performer, isn't he?
I think he's the one to take out of it.
I think he cost a load of money though as well, didn't he? A bit like Willie John, didn't he? Not cost a load of money when he moved stables into this ownership as well. But he's run a really good race. Yeah.
Yeah, fair
He's done
enough.
well.
Yeah, well, I said in the run I thought he was going best of all, and actually, if you're looking at it now, we're watching a replay about 3 furlongs out. He's on the inside. We've seen a couple get out of the inside, early on in the afternoon, but he just couldn't quite get out. He had Communique coming folding back onto him, so we'll definitely take him out of the race. What about Alunak?
Yeah, he seemed to travel okay actually.
Ran on very late, didn't he?
Yeah, almost a bit keen. He was pulling for his head a little bit, and then he stayed on really
Bigger
well.
field
so
for him.
Softer ground maybe as well, so it's a bit more of a stamina test.
Him and Desert Encounter will both be going back to Woodbine, won't they, in that lovely race that they had over there.
Yeah, Desert Encounter beat him in it, the Canadian International.
The Canadian International, of course. They'll both be targeting that, you would imagine, the two trainers. And by the look at that, there's not going to be that much between them again. Desert Encounter's come to get there. The more you look back at that, the more you're taken by the Don DeVee. We wondered why he was in the race with his official rating. Could have gone to a handicap. Huey Morrison knows what he's got in his barn. And there's a nice payday in that chap as well. I mean, everything had a chance of sorts there. You're right, Bruce.
Communique's really got beat a long way in the end.
He's just
really
dropped
has.
right
The
out
other
of it.
5 have all run perfectly well, all finished within a couple of lengths of one another. But
He finished ahead of both Alunak and Desert Encounter last time at Newmarket. The people that have been in this week, I've been saying, we've been doing these shows. We've been used to seeing these horses turn out very quickly. It's a year on like no other like that. How many times have you picked up your racing poster, you looked on your card and see 5, 4, 6, 3? There's so many previous run days, they're all single figures, aren't they? If you believed in the bounce factor, 2020 is not your year, is it?
No, I know. And I should imagine Australian punters where they're really obsessed with breaks, and because in Australia they do this. They'll you can win the Melbourne Cup having run 5 days previously, can't you? But they're obsessed with how long a horse. Yeah, they're obsessed with how long a horse has had between, and they love it when they've had a break and all that kind of thing. But you are right that
spell they call it.
But those things, those breaks between races, they are different this year, and they're going to have an effect on the form, Dave, aren't they? And, and the bottom line is nobody knows. Now, my suspicion is that it just means that Mark Johnson will be even more successful because he'll be intrepid and bold and campaign them. And do you know what? I just said Communique will be getting deleted from every tracker going. He'll probably go and win next time. He's that sort of horse.
Next weekend?
Tomorrow,
next weekend. Yeah.
Is it ends tomorrow? Wherever it runs the next week is a good thing. But yeah, it's a year like no other. This has been a show like no other. We weren't sure what we were coming into again today, guys, were we? We thought, no Group 1 race or whatever. But what drama we've had. Let's just take you through it. If you remember, we started in the Oak Tree Stakes. Doff your cap, Tom Marquand managed to get out in time. What a finish that was. Neil Hubbard, what price did she go? How big did she go in the run again?
7.8.
Woo!
But yeah, really good ride, really forceful ride. Sort of made her mind up for it, Tom Marquand on that, and forced her through the gap, and just got up on the line.
Yeah, and then Tilsit, Bruce, your highlight of the day.
That was a really dramatic race, wasn't it? Because, I mean, it looked like Tilsit was just going to go on and record not a routine win, but a really nice win. And then all of a sudden, Ryan Moore's cut right across Oberon.
He got a 5-day ban, by the way.
He got a 5-day ban. Yeah. And is that for York or?
He's going to appeal it, so we'll find out. They're all appealing at the moment. Rory McNeese is really earning his coffers at the moment, isn't he? But the solicitor out there that defends them all. But
and the front 3 there are all good. They are well worth keeping an eye on.
Yeah, it looked like a sizzling race. Maybe not the result many of you were expecting out there, but Tilsit, extremely highly regarded. We'll get back to Tilsit's trainer Charlie Hills in a minute, but Prompting, another favourite, went in the Golden Mile, Neil Hubbard.
Yeah, relatively straightforward.
Very strong in the market.
Yeah, strong in the market, and I know there was a lot of carnage in behind him with horses weaving everywhere as we touched on the runner-up. But if you back the favourite, relatively straightforward.
You can see why Rafe Beckett really likes Harry Bentley, can't you? Because he just there would have been a game plan there. Let's not kid this. We've got lesser runners than normal. This is the one we really want. It was a fine ride, wasn't it?
It was a really good performance. Kept it nice and simple. And again, this is a day when punters have had a really good day, I would imagine. A lot of fancied horses. I hate that punters have had a good day. The majority, or more punters would have had a good day than normal. It's not like every punter has the same win or lose.
It's a little bit like the first day, wasn't it, where the favourite was beating the second favourite or vice versa. Batash, of course, sizzling course record in the King George for King George.
Yep.
just to keep him in sound and get him back. No crowd this year. He's 1 from 1.
Helped
We'll
by
see what
probably
happens
being
on
a
the nail
gelding as
smile.
well, because they can keep coming back, can't they? Keep targeting.
And your mob are 1 to 2 from 8 to 11. Betfair Sportsbook for the Nunthorpe. And
Is that what it is?
Charlie
Two's
Hill
on.
said we'll look towards the Nunthorpe and then maybe the Abbey. Well,
It looks like a serious race though. 2's on looks too short to me, I've got to say.
Yeah, it's interesting that they're thinking Abbey again. Because has he won that? He hasn't won that, has he?
He has won the Abbey, hasn't he?
Did he
And
win
he's
it?
flopped
Oh yeah,
in
he
it.
did win it at Chantilly, didn't he?
That's right.
But Breeders'
that's
Cup.
right, because if you thought the 5 furlong course at Longchamp was mad, that one at Chantilly, they just disappeared into a forest
And
at
they're
one
still
point.
running,
I was
aren't
like,
they?
What's going on? There's a change of camera angle every half.
It's a very, very bizarre
I still don't
track.
know what happened.
We think we've got idiosyncratic track. So look, Batash smashed the glass at a course record. Glass slippers, great run for Bruce Millington. He said she finished second. It was an obscene price. Let's hope you followed him in there. 7 to 2 in the without market. And Pablo Escobar got you another one on the mark. That's a hat trick for you, my man. You're going off. You're going into the sizzling tube on London. You've got a bit of a journey ahead of you, but you're happy.
I am happy. I will just say though that it's a sad evening because Bob Betts, the former Greyhound editor of the Sporting Life and the man who gave me my first job in newspapers, he's been laid to rest today.
You're going to go and raise a drink.
It's his wake tonight.
Yeah.
It's a family funeral because of size, but I'm very glad that I've been invited and I'm going to go and spend an evening with the Betts family and toast a very special man.
Numbers down, but cheer is there. Let's hope you've been having the cheer as well. Cheers, Bruce, for today. We'll have you back for the Ebor meeting. Neil Hubbard, you've got another day to come.
Yeah, final
We'll be
leg
back with
tomorrow.
Keeley tomorrow. What have we got, Bruce? Any tips? What do we do with this man?
What, Paul Keeley?
Yeah, what, I mean-
no, you'll love it. Just rev him up.
We're going to
and
have
sit
a
there and
bleep
let him
machine.
go.
His
No.
wife thinks we're going to have a bleep machine.
No, it'll be fine. It'll be absolutely fine, honestly. Keels will be a scream, and I must admit, the sooner they get social distancing sorted out so I can join you three, I would absolutely love that. I will be tuning in and enjoying a great show. And I will say, having done one show today, I've loved it, but I'm quite tired. You guys have done 4 with 1 to come. Hats off to you guys.
We're loving it. We've got one more. The energy is there. Myself and Neil will be back with you tomorrow. Don't forget the survey if you're watching on YouTube. The guys in the gallery are loving the feedback on that. Give us the feedback. How can we absolutely improve this? Would you like to see it every Saturday? There's a bit of a tribe out there that's going for that. We will listen. Don't forget to do that on YouTube at the end of the week tomorrow. Unbelievable. The best feedback will win a £50 Amazon voucher. Don't forget, tonight, tomorrow, responsible gambling. Myself, Dave Orton. See you for the sizzling Saturday that will be.